More, I didn't want to put too much on your plate.
No, this looks great. Actually,
Okay.
So,
Girls.
right now it is just the two of us in the meeting. Okay.
mhm.
Right. So you wanna call the meeting to order?
Oh, yeah. I call this meeting of the Wellfleet Campground Operations and Financial Review to order. It is 5:35, I think, or so, PM. And the first thing on our agenda here is reviewing the financials and hopefully finalizing this. Okay, so I had a couple questions, Farouk, about the when you look at the net income, it includes, I think the capital costs as expenses, where it goes negative in the projections.
Right.
So I wonder if we should just pull that out and have that as a separate ticket, because a yearly expense is not necessarily like a capital expense. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like 2022 doesn't have any of those capital expenses, and it's only the years 3, 4, 5 that do, and that's why we put
The
them.
only difference between the years 3, 4, 5 versus 22 is the
Right.
capital expenses. So
Right, that's the
if you
difference.
just want to see the operating expenses without the capital expenses, we can look at the 2022.
Yeah, I just think if you're like glancing at it and you don't know where we came from and you see the negative numbers, that there's some reason why all of a sudden our projections are showing that like there's less income.
The
from
counter argument though is that it shows that, so we can always speak to that. We can explain that this takes into account the capital expenses, and they vary at different years for the different.
Right, and it's only a loss for the cottages, not for the
Right.
overall campground or whatever.
Right.
For
Yeah.
the overall business.
Yeah.
So we could speak to that, but so the counter argument would be that it shows that we've done due diligence to take into account not just the routine operating expenses, but also
Mhm.
the out of the ordinary capital expenses, and to show that what one part of the team worked on the capital expenses, a
Right.
different working group, and that we work together to put the two together, right? So
Yeah,
that's the other side or the other argument. You feel that
I was just thinking that we could move it out from the net, that there should be possibly.
okay, I see. So separate. You say net versus net with capital expenses, something like that.
Right, I think just because it's a little confusing if you don't know what we know already, and
Okay.
this gets broadcast as a public document, so all of a sudden, people
So-
are going, well, why, how come we're expecting it to like start
Mhm.
losing money, like what is, you know what I mean? And I can see in there that like, it says structures and stuff like that. But if you were to like, say you were a business, your expenses would be, let's say you had to do a lot of maintenance in a year and you're gonna spend 50,000 upgrading, you might take a line of credit and then your actual expense for that year would be maybe
The portion of the
$200 a month or something like that over 6 years, or whatever that is, that would equate to that much. So I don't necessarily think it's a regular expense, I guess is
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I think it'll be more clear if we pull that out. Not that we shouldn't keep it in the document, but that if we can move that into exactly what you said. And
All right, so we'll have to figure out where it is that we have the linkage with the other spreadsheet.
is that gonna be called? It's gonna be
It's gonna
called-
be-
No, scroll down or up. I
Yeah.
forget what row are
So-
you on right
so-
now.
So right now, if you look at the total expenses, right, so let's look at 2023, right? That's where things start.
Mhm.
24.
Or
Yeah.
24? It starts with.
Yeah. Jumps up in 23. Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the formula here, it's J6 through sum of J6 through J19,
Mhm.
right? So J6 6, so if you go quite a ways up. So J6 through J19, the store sales doesn't change, campground seasonal so we're looking for,
You're looking at income, right?
I'm sorry, oh, J6 through J9 was income, sorry.
Okay, stop there though, but there it is. Think.
No, if you look at total expenses, that's where we want to work backwards from, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So total expenses is this number. So J22 to J76, right?
okay.
So if you look at J22 to J76,
So it might be way up near 22. Where's 22?
J22. Okay,
Yeah.
repairs and maintenance, that's the one. So you
Right,
see these rows that there are
Mhm.
23 to starting here and
Right.
and going up till grounds and services. These are the ones that have the maintenance.
Right.
so you want to pull all those
And-
rows out and put them below?
And the way you can tell is see how it has references to another spreadsheet, capital
Right.
plan. So you're saying take them, no, we don't have to move them. We can just say
Take them
that,
out of that formula?
yeah, we can have two formulas. So, okay, now that we know, so can you take notes, Nancy? J, so basically row 23 colon 27 are the repairs and maintenance. Okay, so we're gonna not use them. So when we go to expenses, total expenses with total expenses. What this really is saying is that it's total expenses with
So you might change that label to say capital repairs and maintenance.
no, what I'm saying is total expenses is everything, right? So
Right.
including repairs and maintenance. Then we'll have a copy of total expenses that doesn't take the repairs and maintenance, and that's total expense. So total expenses with repairs and maintenance, total expenses without.
Well, no, because people are gonna misinterpret repairs and maintenance to mean regular stuff. And
Okay,
I think
you're-
capital
You're pulling the
expenses.
you're
Yeah.
saying like these are capital.
Yeah, and I don't know what they have listed as
Okay.
their repairs and maintenance, if that includes some capital, but I don't think
No,
they've
so-
spent a lot on
No,
capital expenses on
so
the.
repairs and
Use
maintenance
their
is separate spreadsheet,
Right,
which I can show you what,
It's
but
the 6-year capital plan down there, yeah.
yeah, the 6-year.
yeah, that's what I was looking at before.
Right.
So, but their repairs and maintenance from 2019 to 2021.
Yeah, so this is there, and so it has all kinds of repairs that are not ordinary, replace the boiler or whatever,
But these are for us to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm talking about previous to us with what
They had
Maurice's
they
has.
had nothing.
nothing.
Right, it's mostly repairs and maintenance, probably not much capital expenses because,
Right,
maybe they had to repair a roof, but they didn't put a new roof on and count that as an
right. And
expense.
miscellaneous might have captured some of that.
Right.
Right,
So maybe the 6-year capital plan spreadsheet where it uses the term repairs and maintenance is misleading. I didn't invent
We
that.
did, yeah,
No, we didn't.
we did.
Okay. Well, then we shouldn't. It's capital expenses.
yeah,
So we can say, when you say total expenses, to me, total means sum total, including.
Right, but what Mike is saying is that most businesses would not like do
you
these
deduct those capital.
multi-$1,000 thing. It would be a loan that they would take out and then they would pay it. So it would be paid over many years so that it would be like an expense of
Like if I buy a
20,000
truck,
a year.
I might be able to write off my truck in a year or something like that, but I might take a 5-year loan on the truck for the business. My actual expense that year would be whatever my truck payments are.
Right,
So it's a little bit misleading when you take $50,000 in electrical upgrades and put it in as a 1-year expense.
right.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, I just think
right.
that wouldn't be how a business, I think, they might
Right.
do that, but
Like personally,
still
that's how
depreciate.
we think of things, but I see what you're saying. A business wouldn't, right?
yeah, I mean, I think that might be the case, but maybe the town is going to bond this over 6 years, or do short-term borrowing note over 6 years so that we don't outlay, let's say, well, just for instance, the town might say, listen, we're gonna have all these expenses, we don't wanna lay it all out and have a big borrowing article for all of it, because we think in the next few years, we'll be able to collect revenue from this. So we'll maybe bond this little thing, or I don't really know, how the
Right.
town
First
will
thing I
do it,
want
but
to do,
But you don't want
But-
this up and down for people
It's
to
misleading
focus on
because-
this and sort of,
yeah.
right,
I
go
think
down a
it's-
rabbit hole.
You,
sort of
you
thing.
start seeing negative numbers and you're like, is
What?
that a yearly expense, or is
Right.
that a one-time expense that's a capital expense that should really be categorized differently than like, basically like, what do you spend every year on repairs,
Right,
right? That's kind of a different thing. Like if you buy a new building or something like that, or if you build something, it's a one-year thing that's gonna be depreciated over time rather than fixing a window or repairing a water line or something like that.
yeah.
so this is gonna be,
So if
it's hard to do in real time, maybe.
So
might
do
not
you
have to
think we
be-
should just remove the rows that include the capital plan and leave it on the other sheet as it is laid out by that group?
I think that might make the most sense,
Yeah,
because in our assumptions for, I think the capital expenses are like what's gonna be outlaid by the town, but not necessarily what would be outlaid by like a lessee.
right,
And the capital expenses, I think, I think because you're looking at a financial projection, so it's like, it's not necessarily, I don't know.
Look at a mouse.
Yeah,
having
that's
trouble with
fine,
this.
yeah.
Sorry.
okay,
I mean, that's how I looked at it when I saw it. I just thought,
okay, so
'Cause-
I will just remove what I think we named repairs and maintenance.
mhm,
I don't have experience with this.
Yeah.
I believe the 6-year capital plan is page 2 of this.
right, and then you could put
document.
underneath the total income or the net income, you could put, capital I don't know if it should be in the same thing. I think it might just be different. And you could just refer to the capital expenses separately.
Or
I don't
maybe,
know.
yeah,
I don't know. Like if you printed like a balance sheet for a business or something like that, it would have also assets and liabilities in it. And we
right.
can't,
Well, and I think if someone looks at it separately, they're not gonna say, oh, gosh, the cabins are losing $15,000 this year, so.
right, like
Let's-
if we have somebody also looking at this that's thinking about leasing it or renting it, and they're like, oh, it looks like that we're gonna have to do all this
Right,
upgrading or
yeah, we're not gonna.
whatever. Yeah,
Right.
like why would we run the cabins?
Right,
And
right,
maybe to one degree it makes sense, like, well, maybe the town should just take the cabins out. If it's gonna cost us more to have the cabins than we're gonna generate,
Well, yeah, I was assuming that any kind of capital expenses are on the town, not on the
Right,
lessee, or
so see where it says repairs and maintenance?
Yeah.
There.
change that to first of all capital.
Well, no, you can leave that there because in 2019, 2021, and 22, there is a number that we must have gotten from a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Okay,
From Gauthier's.
right.
yeah,
And so, what we might want to do is take out everything from cabin and cottage structures and grounds and services.
Take out altogether.
Yeah, because it's on the 6-year capital plan. Instead of attaching it to this, don't confuse it with this.
Okay, so just,
Now, it's up to you. If you just want to blanket, then you don't have to change your formula right now. So don't remove the whole row, but just delete the info in it.
right.
does this make sense to you guys to do this?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think clear. Okay, so I want to make sure, is there a way to create a, I want to, before we start making changes, let's make a snapshot of this so that we,
Yeah,
You
if you
need to
want to
come
go
back.
back, yeah,
yeah, so give me a second now. Do
sure.
that, let's see. Manage versions, upload new versions. Okay, what I'll do is I will download, so leave this here. I will download this and then edit that and then upload it as a new version.
Okay.
That way it will be complete.
Whatever you say.
So download. Okay, now open. And okay, now we'll start doing the big changes. Income.
Expenses.
Do we pass?
Yeah, you just passed again. Go down, round 22, row 22.
Okay,
Okay.
here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So starting with row
Tell me what rows it
22.
is that you're clearing, because I can't see the
Yeah,
row numbers.
23 to 27. You can't see them?
No,
Okay, I can make it so you can see everything. One second. How to fix that? Okay. Check. Okay. And I'll make sure you're seeing everything. Okay, now you're not seeing everything. Sorry, this is silly thing with.
so the town will be doing the capital expenses regardless of whether it's a
Right.
managed campground or leased
Yeah,
campground. Yeah,
yeah, I
that
mean,
makes sense to me now. Yep.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I was distracted. I'm trying to figure out so you can see.
just that the town would be responsible for the capital expenses no matter what.
No matter what, yeah.
But the repairs and maintenance, that's, I put that in the assumptions that if there's a lessee, they would be responsible for repairs and maintenance up to a certain number
Right.
per incident,
Go down to that little box. Okay.
Yeah, I'm having
Well, enable editing up top, maybe?
enable editing, okay. And I want to just resize it a tiny bit, but
Yeah,
Not
don't
getting
worry
your
about it. You
computer.
don't need to resize it for us.
okay, I get it.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
bother.
that's
Alright.
okay.
But
I
what
can
you
see
want
it
to,
on mine.
you want to clear rows 23 to 27.
23 to 27.
That's what you said.
Clear contents.
Okay, yeah, and then leave those rows as is. If we want to reformat it later, we can, but right now
Yeah.
it's just a gap.
Yeah.
And if you can go down now, let's look at those totals, see if those make us more comfortable.
Okay.
We should probably make some assumptions that there will be some repairs and maintenance during that time period.
Yes, we'll add that up top, absolutely.
So totals now for expenses. Total. Oops. Okay, were these? Where were we seeing the formulas that were?
It says equals E164.
I see that, but which numbers are we expecting to get better now that we remove?
We don't see any negatives, so that, yeah, we can go up top now.
Where do you want me to go to the?
Well, so we were just looking at the net cabin income. So it's 18, then 19, then 19, and 19. right?
Okay, yeah.
So 20, 22, 23, 24, 25. So we need to increase probably income and we need to increase expenses.
Okay,
probably.
that's one thing.
So the assumption
But
with,
but Microsoft or something else. He was saying that we need to factor in some repair costs.
right, so if you go back up to row 21.
21, so it's very hard. I'm so used to my work environment. That's
Okay, so see how we had this repairs and maintenance, and if you go to the other rows for 2019, 20, and 21, columns rather, the columns that precede that, well, you'll see in 2020, there were a much bigger repairs and maintenance than, and that could have been because they had the time to do it because they weren't as busy, who knows? So what assumption do you want to make for repairs and maintenance?
I think I would just probably take an average of those 4 years and then increase it by 5% or maybe 10% per year or something like that.
Okay, well, even our 2022 one, we just put the information from 2021.
Yeah,
So if we just increase that by
So-
10% per year,
Or maybe what we should do is take the average of the three
yeah,
and put that for 2022. Right, because 2022 is projected.
let's project.
So if
I
we
mean,
average those
So-
three,
okay. So right now the
16.
formula should. Okay, it's not a formula. So okay, so equal to
F,
average,
so you
20,
can just do
yeah.
that.
and then it is
F21, G21,
F-
H21.
22. It is actually
Okay.
F22. Oops. Oh, sorry. F22 colon
H22, will that include G or do you have to?
H. Yeah, no, I think you can say H22. Let's see what that comes out to. So that comes out to 18,000. So let's do a quick number. 24 plus 13 is 34, 35, 36, 37, 47, and 6 is 53
3,
divided by 3.
it's gonna be around 18.
Okay,
Okay.
so that worked.
So now for the assumptions for 23, 24, 25 is how much percent?
I would think 10%, you know,
10%?
5%.
Now, how about
10%.
other
And
expenses?
inflation.
What are you gonna increase them for?
Well, what were you guys doing before? I'm fine with
We
whatever.
didn't do
We haven't
X
done any
because-
increase in income or expense.
because
Well,
yet.
the inflation numbers right now are like kind of crazy, but like the
The
real
cap-
life.
the capital plan did a 4%.
So let's just increase that 4%. I think
So-
that makes sense. Though they put together budgets all the time that came
Yeah.
from DPW, so we should just be consistent. Use 4% as our baseline,
So
and we just
equal to
make note of that.
1.04 times that.
1.24 times I-22.
Yeah,
Actually, I-22. Oops. Damn it. Equal to I-22 times 1.04.
somehow typed wrong.
Yeah.
Do you want me to type it?
You can if you like. But where did I put this? Okay, so I have to first figure out where I was.
J.
Oh, because some things have moved. Okay, that's why. Okay, so this was I-22 times, and this is where it went haywire. I-22 times 1.04. Okay, so that's
And
this.
then the next year will be,
Same thing, you just drag it.
Yeah.
and drag it. So
I think this is good because it's sort of like a baseline. You got 3 years of information.
okay.
Maybe some of those are what would be considered capital expenses, but we don't really know.
So the assumption next to it, Frank, in the words, you might say assume 4% increase each year.
That 4% needs to be at the bottom so that if that assumption changes, you don't have to go hunt it everywhere. So give me a second and I'll fix that.
Okay.
That's one of the things we learned as we went along.
Repair and maintenance percent.
Repair and maintenance percent increase each year is
0.04.
0.04. 0.04. Okay, so now.
And then can we make a note there too? That just says, or maybe up top, that just says
Next to
repairs
it.
and maintenance may have
Yeah.
contained capital expenses in the past or something like that. So
Okay.
that anyone who's looking at this might go, okay, what are these repairs and maintenance? From 20,
Okay. let's-
may, yeah,
So the
repairs and maintenance
assumptions on the
may,
right,
yeah, may factor in some capital expenses.
Repairs and maintenance. What do you say?
Repairs and maintenance may factor in some capital expenses.
Meaning capital expenses may have considered these, not
Yeah.
the other way around.
Yes.
May have been factored in.
Yes.
May have been factored in capital expense. I should say some.
wait,
Yeah.
that, I don't know that,
I
I
think
don't
it's,
think you're saying the right thing,
I
but
think it's some
What?
repairs and maintenance.
So tell me what I should.
No, some capital expenses may have been factored in as repairs and maintenance.
so in other words, the Gothiers, their 20,000 that they spent in 2020 could have been some capital
Oh,
expenses.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
so some capital expenses may have been factored
Into the historic,
Into
repairs and maintenance
repairs
costs.
and maintenance costs. I think because we've projected it out, we can just say that
Yeah,
because we're projecting their numbers. So some of that might have been that.
Historically,
no,
or
just leave it like that.
I think
good.
that's fine because we've just made a projection based on their numbers. And
Yeah,
we
okay.
don't know if that included some capital expenses, but doesn't really matter because
All right, so that's repairs and maintenance. Oh, we gotta fix the formula. So this one was just an average. This one was 1 plus that cell. What is that?
yeah,
Oh,
I
gosh.
think that's actually right. I think you
No,
have the formula.
he has it right, but he wants to, in case somebody
So
says.
somebody
you
says,
need
no,
to
it's not 4%, it's 6%.
Oh,
Then I change it to one
okay.
place and it fixes it
Okay,
again.
so there's
Okay.
there it is.
Oh, you have to
So-
link it to that cell.
Yeah, so
I-
cell is
Speaking of the language.
E167, E167, right? Okay, so now I find J20, what is it? So that's- I know this is tedious, guys, bear with
No,
me.
this is just part of.
Okay, so,
E167,
okay, so E167 was 1 plus
I think
E1.
you'll need a parenthesis times parenthesis 1 plus E67.
1 plus E67.
Right.
Let's see, did the number come out right?
No, something's wrong
no.
with the-
Okay, so equal to I22 times
Oh, E167, sorry.
E167, sorry.
Oh, that's why. Okay,
All
Okay,
right,
that's
so
great.
now that's 19,000 and this one goes.
You guys have been at this, I can tell.
So this,
Spending some time.
no, we're doing it right now, but the weekend we did it, that was when.
Yeah,
we had
well,
to
just
do that.
all the formulas and then having to go back and fix the assumptions in each formula.
Right, well,
That's
and
a
we
lot.
were doing it together, so one of us could like be looking on this
Mhm.
screen and the other.
wait, this didn't work correctly. When I drag this formula out, that doesn't change. Okay, so J22,
Because it's saying F167.
this should,
When you dragged it, it dragged E167 and
Oh.
changed it to F.
okay. Yeah. 67. Okay, now it's good.
Now look at 2025, is that right?
So 19,774 to 20,000.
Check the formula. L, I don't think you fixed L, did you?
L is right up there,
Okay,
E167.
all right, good,
They're all E167 of the previous.
okay.
Okay, that's good. All right, so that's fixed. What else? We gotta do the
So,
income and expense.
well, all these other costs here, do they all need to be, you see how we just kind of flatly went over? Do we need to increase all of them by 4%?
I think, can I make a suggestion? What if we,
I don't necessarily think, if you go back to their 2019s, and some of those things are fixed, like your mass certificate, your corporate fee,
yeah,
those are fixed costs. They don't change unless the state changes them.
Okay,
If you scroll back to 2019, 2020, and 2021, you'll see that those change.
those first two didn't, but association dues and advertising,
I
So,
mean,
there's
the
small enough numbers that we probably don't have to.
okay. Just
yeah,
leave
I
them
think
as
we
is.
can leave it as the last reasonable number.
Shall we scroll down to other things?
So look for big
Like, how about
ticket.
miscellaneous is a bit, okay, so miscellaneous went everywhere from,
Let's take the average again
Yeah.
and then extrapolate it.
and how about
Yeah.
supplies? What
I
that
would
went-
probably do that with that as well.
Yeah,
So we had picked the most recent year, thinking that
yeah, so let's just average them.
okay, so so this supplies
Equal out.
equal to average. And then can you tell me what cell number?
F, and I don't know what the row is,
It's 36, F36
and to H.
colon H36. Okay, so that
Okay.
falls,
And now, I don't know if you want to just take note of this and just do this after
Oh,
the,
sure.
the sort of tedious part of,
Okay, so
doing that.
supplies,
because I think these are small enough numbers that like, it makes sense for us when we submit the document that that's done, but I don't know that we need to.
hey,
so we'll average of
Go
3
through
years
it.
and then,
what just happened here? I'm sorry. You guys, you have to watch what I'm doing because
Yeah,
it needs more than one eyes. So this was the last fixed formula.
right.
This takes the average of F36 to H, so
36.
column F through H, it averages.
Okay,
This one averages column
yeah, you don't want that.
G, no.
You're not gonna do an average. The next
No.
3, we are going to do times 1.04, but what Mike is
Okay.
suggesting, you and I do that on our own.
Okay,
So I'm
well,
writing it down, so supplies and miscellaneous
yeah,
for 2022, we will average the 3 years to 2019 to 2021, and that will be for 2022. And then we increase
by
by
4%.
4%.
I think we're in the weeds, but it's just consistency at this point. You know what I mean? I don't think it's like, it's not gonna have an impact over the overall reading because
Right,
you're getting right fairly small numbers, but at least there's a baseline of like what we did to extrapolate the projections so that it's like we did the average of the 3 years and then we
right.
took it and added 4%.
I'm guessing for the insurance, that varied. Should we do the average for the
I
insurance?
think I would
increase
just
it
do the same thing. I think
Okay.
consistencies.
Yep, okay,
plus, what was the cell with the 0.04? It's E136?
167.
E167. I know you want to do this.
No, you
but
can do it now if you want. I just
No,
didn't know if you didn't want to do it right now.
No,
It doesn't bother me.
it would actually,
Be harder.
I'm afraid that we miss something.
No, we won't, because these ones we won't. These ones I know what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Still not correct.
So maybe we
Yeah,
can
I used to.
wrap it up, like if we,
Yeah, okay, so then it's a very short meeting because
Well, no, let's keep going down. We have to go through all these rows.
I
So,
know,
yeah.
but, okay, so. So supplies and miscellaneous both.
And
will-
insurance, same thing, okay.
Okay,
Now, the thing is, counting and legal, we just took the highest year, an average and 4% increase again?
I think for consistency, if it's not too much
Yep.
work for you guys,
Yeah, we'll do that.
I think it just kind of gives a consistent basis
Yeah.
for how we're projecting things, so that it's the
Okay. Yeah.
same all the way down.
All right, and.
Utilities, those
So
things.
postage, same thing,
I would just do that,
yeah.
just so that
Okay.
everyone knows where it came from.
Now,
Yeah.
electric, what we're not gonna average, because Mr. Gothier said in an interview with Richard that he anticipates 65,000 for 2022. So then I think we can just keep that and then,
But he anticipates that, but I don't know that that's his anticipation. It's not a real number yet, so,
no, but like to say electric went 53, then 45, then 52,
yeah,
those that's,
based on the
It's-
rates before
it's
the,
not gonna go down. You know
no,
what
it's
I mean?
definitely not going down.
Yeah, so I don't think we should average those, but I don't know.
But there's also usage factors that were in 2020, less usage, I guess,
Right,
but,
so what do you think? I'm comfortable leaving 65 and putting the assumption that that's,
I am too.
and just because people's electric
So-
bills have gone up so much.
I know.
So, 2022,
You wanna be
2023
on the
projection?
elect, for,
Oh, sorry, this is not, sorry, let me highlight the row. So, oh, it was correct, yeah.
okay,
So,
2023.
2023 projection comes from
so 2022 projection.
2022 projection, sorry, comes from what years?
Yeah.
Okay,
Then we can just add 4% to that
Yeah.
number.
Okay, so electric. We'll keep 65K, add 4%, okay?
so subsequent,
I wrote that,
okay,
yeah, we will just have that same 4% increase.
all right.
What about cable and phone? That's kind of, oh, that stayed the same those 3 years. Should we,
Oh, no, that's 2020, so go back.
okay,
So,
3259. I'm just shocked at how much cable and phone costs.
should we do the-
I know.
for
Well,
cable?
when I look at my bill, I'm not that
For
surprised.
cable, oil, propane, and refuse, should we do the average and then 4% thing again?
I mean, I think just for,
Or actually, propane and refuse went consistently up, as did cable and phone. So maybe
Those
we
things
shouldn't-
are
maybe we
gonna
shouldn't
go-
Average
you should
those.
take the last years on utilities.
Yeah.
I
so-
think probably taking the last years on utilities because they're not
Likely to go down.
going down and
So take our
an average doesn't make
2021,
sense.
we'll take 2021 and increase it by 4% each year.
Yes.
Okay. All right, what's the next section?
Yeah, I think this works. What
Oh,
we're
so
doing.
what did people say about real estate taxes? Somebody said, oh, keep it here, and somebody else said, don't.
Well, so it's like, so
Because somebody's gonna say somewhere, we're losing 20,000 in the town if the Gothiers aren't paying that tax.
Right.
So is this the place that we should, and I know that you have different accounts, so do you put it on?
Yeah,
this-
so it's a strange thing because when you take that out, it increases the
Income.
cost. So here we go. Here's a good idea, is that when we do our assumptions for a operating thing, so if we remove that taxes down to 0 because it's no longer an expense, it would clearly not be an expense, then we can move that into the cost of, we can move that into, it doesn't, I think you just need to zero it out. It's just no longer an expense of the business.
Okay,
It's just not. So the expense of the business, and then at that point is going to come to paying the town, or the town's going to reap the profit from the campground.
okay, so just remove taxes.
I
from
think
this
it
thing.
just remove it from the
Okay.
expense.
So that will be clearing that row info without.
Yeah, and when we put it in there, it'd be like, this will no longer be an expense, as there will not be
Or-
taxed.
Are you're leaving it there for 2019, 2021, but you're leaving it for 22,
You'd be taking it out for
22.
2023
Three
and
onward.
2024.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just remove it because
okay,
that becomes not an expense anymore. Then an expense would either be paying rent to the town or rent to, or the profit from the campground would cover that cost, I guess, if we were hiring someone to operate it for us.
okay. And these Medicare and Social Security, all of those initials, that was for the Goth years stuff, so we removed that.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
So remove
projections.
everything under taxes.
Yeah, I think so. None of those are payroll taxes for their other employees,
Let's,
because
I
I
don't
feel
think
like,
so, because, or.
well, there's some payroll taxes that you pay.
Let's see what's under payroll, maybe it's there.
Maybe, yeah.
So
There's payroll service.
payroll
Like
service is
payroll.
an expense for sure, but and
Like,
the
do you know
employee
what-
payroll is an expense.
Do you know what SUTA and FUTA?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's unemployment tax, federal unemployment tax, state unemployment tax. That's FUTA and SUTA. EMAC is the emergency medical and, is that not the emergency medical and family leave? I thought it was.
Yeah, family leave.
Yeah, I thought it was EMFL. I don't know why it's
Yeah,
wrote EMAC.
but it is the same thing.
Same thing.
Like it's
So that's a very small amount usually that is paid into that. But when I'm looking at this, I'm kind of thinking that this is the total for all their employees, because a lot of their employees are foreign workers, and you don't pay those employer expenses on like J1s and stuff like that. So
We can remove all those taxes.
I think you would have to project that you're going to be paying those taxes in payroll taxes at least going forward. Even if they're not going to the Gothiers, they're going to someone.
Okay, so should we leave that whole, everything there then?
I see all of these staying because
Yeah,
as long
Okay.
as the number of, I mean,
as long as the number of employees stays the same, but it's
yeah,
actually going to go up, but we don't have the means to project that because we don't know. Like it really depends on what structure this form takes, right, as an
Right.
expense. So, I mean, maybe we should just not do projections of that
right.
and just note that there, it's uncertain to what extent these payroll expenses will carry out.
Right.
Because we don't know what it would, what percentage of people are working that are, I believe that like J1 workers, they're not entitled to Medicare, Social Security, paid family medical leave, all those unemployment benefits. I think that as an employer, you don't pay that portion because they're not
Right.
forced to pay
So
that
if we
portion.
leave those out,
There's a certain
then
type
do
of
we put
taxes,
a note
I
on the
think.
side under the assumption?
Why are we changing anything for these? Because if we
Let's
have
just
foreign,
leave it alone.
if
and
we had
just say-
foreign workers before,
Okay,
we
Yeah.
can have foreign workers in future.
Potentially. I mean, we just don't know, but we can just write in the notes that projections were left as the last previous year due to unknown
okay,
variables.
so the only tax we're removing is real estate.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
just from
Because Medicare is
2023.
the other one, you also pay into that for your employees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
Okay.
the employer payroll section is like 50% of the total,
okay,
I
all
believe.
right.
Yeah, so you pay half and the employee pays
I
half.
just set up payroll for my business and
Yeah.
was learning some of this stuff. You've been
Yeah.
doing this.
Oh,
all
I've
that.
been doing it for a while.
Okay, so now for the payroll, do you want us in those following years to increase those by 4% each year?
I believe, yeah.
Okay,
So
leave the employee payroll the same.
I would
and-
average it and then increase it.
Well, you know what, I think we got these new numbers from Mr. Gothier, so I think we'll leave those. We worked hard.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So-
I didn't see those
so
down
for-
below, yeah.
So we'll increase the payroll by 4%
If you increase those numbers by 4%, that would be it.
in
yeah.
2023.
And then in the
24,
notes, just
25.
write breakdown, provided
Okay.
breakdown of payroll expenses provided by. Can I have a
You
little
know,
more of that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, it's tons of them.
Thank you. That's really good.
And there's cilantro here if you like that in it as well.
It's like perfect.
So you grew up in the neighborhood
I
here?
grew up in Daniels Drive.
That's cool. Did you go to school with the Barons with Nick?
Yeah.
Nick and
They're younger than.
Otis? Okay.
Oh wait, Nick, I think might be older than me. I can't remember.
Otis is the older one and
Oh.
Nicholas is the younger one.
I can't remember how old
Uh,
they are.
I don't know if they're 42 and 45 or something like that. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, so a little bit older. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Cameron Day.
I don't know.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, so we did the payroll, oh, not did, but took note that we do the 4%.
Yeah, and I think the payroll service, I will do the average and then 4%.
Mhm.
Okay.
I wonder what they did use for payroll service. You have any idea?
They probably used a company that they just.
Okay.
Now, cost of goods for the store, we went for the most expensive
Yeah.
because, do you think that's still a good rationale? Because, 2020, because of COVID in 2020 and
I think
2021.
It makes sense.
Okay, so then,
Well, it's difficult actually there because the 2019 makes sense. And then they've scaled the store operations
because
way
of
back.
because of employees.
because of employees and because they know they're,
So should we do the average then, you think, and then increase?
Well, no, because 2020 is a weird year. in terms
Yeah.
of, and also
Especially-
2021 being, like you're saying, they were winding down. So
Let's just say 2019,
2019 and
last normal year.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so then for 2023, 4.5, should we do 4% increase? Because the cost of store goods is going up.
Yeah, why not? We'll increase the income by that much too, so.
Yeah. All right, so that's good. All right,
So for income,
Now we need to go back, or wherever we have the cottage, the costs of stuff, of the cabins and
the
Tent.
cost. of-
the rent.
Yeah, that's in the income.
Beginning.
So,
Okay, so now we need to go to the income.
and so what I was wondering is, what if we, instead of doing it at an individual level, because with expenses, there was some, variance depending on what kind of expense it was. Some things never change much, like the Secretary of State, that kind of stuff. But for income, should we just, I was gonna say, just apply it on the cumulative, rather than doing it at individual each row.
What?
I think for the, like, say, so like store sales, we just did the store expenses, the store, what is it, the expenses?
Expenses, yeah. No, I think
Is
you're
that
Cost
how
of
we
goods,
listed
yeah.
cost of goods? So we just did that. Maybe we should use the same year as our model for the income
Yeah,
and then add 4% also. And I just don't think they're projections, so they're not gonna be that,
go back
real
to,
life
I
accurate,
think
because
we did do that.
there's a lot of variables in,
What are you talking about, Nancy? Go
Let me
back.
see 2019 as well. I can't see
Oh, sorry,
2019.
2019.
Yeah, we did that. So we took the same store sales and cost of goods. We took them both from 2019.
yeah, I would just add 4%.
And so then add 4%.
Okay,
Okay. All right, income.
so store sales is 4%, and then for all the,
So here's the thing, the way he increases his rent is not necessarily a percent. Like if a campground is $70, if a campsite is $70 this year, he's likely to make it 75 next year
Right.
and 80 the following year. So,
so what I'd like to suggest on that is, if you look at these, fees, right? So they're following some formulas at the bottom, right? Where we have the assumption cells. So those assumption cells, let's say it's the rent for no hookup tent. There's just one value. I'm wondering if those should be done by the year so that you can apply the increase. So that
why don't you go down to where you have those values, those that are plugged into those
yeah,
formulas?
that's what I was. Okay, so if you look at
Okay,
so the night, you see these fees. So right now they're not tied to any year. I'm thinking, what if we move these fees to
And
be,
tied them to each year.
Yeah, so that we,
I think so, yeah.
okay, so then we can say, okay, the fees are going up each year, so the income is going up.
And the
each-
only thing we need to do is tie that into 2022 and then extrapolate it,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
it doesn't matter what was before that.
Yeah,
So yeah, that would make sense. If we just move those over to 2022, that's the current rates.
Right, so for the rates, move them to 2022 and then apply the 1.04 multiplier.
But I don't think
Or-
we would do
No, I
that.
think-
Oh,
I think we will go through.
Maybe we don't put a formula in and just,
So I think what we would do is like,
I'll be right back. I have
go
information.
scroll up about 3 rows or something like that.
what are you looking for?
I'm looking at the rate of the camp, oh, okay, partial hookup site. So see how that's 75?
Yeah, move that to 2022.
Right, and then it would go up to 80.
Okay, so it's not a percentage,
It's
but it's,
not, because they're never gonna do it that way.
okay, so, all right, so should I do any changes here, or, in other words, I'm not gonna fix the way it's used, but just to capture that this is gonna move to here, 75, and then what,
80,
80, how do you know these numbers?
because John had said something like that.
And then what?
85 and 85.
Why do you keep, like, where are you coming up with these numbers?
Because that's what he said. You know, it's just gonna go up a little bit.
But he didn't, but, I mean, but what is that little bit, did he?
He said like the campgrounds would go up, you know, they went up from 50 to 55 to 60 to 75.
By the way,
Right.
should we
But
be,
we should just we should probably just make a formula that's like certain percentage of a
Okay, then we'll
year.
do the
because-
4% then.
Yeah, or it might need to go up. I was thinking like, so I've got, this is Cape and the Islands
can I ask a
campground.
higher level question? here?
Sure.
We're only projecting right now, we only have columns until 2025. Should we do the remaining 3 years?
I really don't think so. No,
Okay.
I really don't think so, because it's a useless projection at that point, because
Right.
there's so many variables
Exactly.
that can happen between then and now, like how someone operates it.
Yeah.
I mean, a 3-year, I think, I mean, I actually don't know. I think that some finance committee members wanted to have projections in there, but to me, the variables of somebody else operating it, having a new operator, you know, a totally different fee schedule possibly, it doesn't make that much sense to do a cash flow projection, but you know, having 3 years in there, there's no harm in it. And at least it's got a baseline that we've sort of used.
Right.
So we can say we just basically projected out.
Yeah, but you were
This
saying
much.
this is Cape Cod.
Yeah, these are
camping?
campgrounds all over Mass, and then I was trying to put this together before, and on my way back to Vermont, I stopped at the Plymouth like rest
Oh,
area.
nice.
And I grabbed this thing, and it's got
That's
all the
great.
rates for campgrounds.
Oh,
and
very
so-
nice.
That's excellent.
So, yeah, and it's separated by Cape and the Islands, so you can kind of see how it's kind of not all the rates written in here,
Mhm.
but you can see where Maurice's kind of fits in there. The base, it says base $50. I don't know what that means. What are they charging $50?
$50 for no hookup.
For no hookup,
Yeah.
right, okay. And so
We put that, put 50 and 20.
if you look at Atlantic Oaks,
Yeah, what are they?
it's 30, that's probably for a tent site with no hookup,
Okay,
you know, to 68. So that's probably for,
off and on,
yeah.
on season, yeah.
And Island doesn't say. Bayview is $55 to $77 base.
Okay,
Yeah, they're pretty on par, 53 to 103. Sun Retreats in Dennisport is 70 to 120.
okay.
Oh, so this is almost getting up to hotels.
Well, no-
Yeah,
No, but
Yeah.
hotels are probably 300.
Hotels
When's the
are
last
so
time we've stayed in a hotel?
we stayed in a hotel the other night, and the cheapest hotel we could find was $250.
Holy man.
Up in Vermont?
No, this was in Concord, Mass. We stayed there. Then in Vermont too, 250 a night at an inn.
Well,
That's what any inn.
our son's getting married on August 14th, and it's near Old Orchard Beach. So my sister's house is like 20 miles from Portland. And like Portland, they're like, yeah, $350 a night. And like, we're used to $90 a night in Portland, you know? and-
Right. I know, yeah, it's crazy. Hotel rates have skyrocketed. But I think that what we should do is just take their numbers, and if they've been adding $5 to what? I mean, I think we should just add the 4%.
Okay,
Just keep it consistent. It's just a
Yeah.
projection. Somebody can raise it more than that or less than that, and some might go up more and some might go up less.
yeah.
So
Right.
just keep it
And if
consistent.
it comes out to a weird number, well,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because, you know,
Yeah.
the people who are renting it will decide, okay, we're not gonna charge 63.50, we're gonna charge 65 or whatever.
Mhm.
Right. Okay, so
Okay. Right,
This
so
is
we'll do that.
delicious.
so that's for the income, income, so that's basically all the different, the campground, seasonal, transient, no hookup site, partial hookup site, cottages and cabins, and the duplex being a special case of the cottages and cabins. So we do the same thing. We take their number that we had in one place, put it in 2022, and then apply the
Mhm.
4% and use
Yeah.
the formulas. Okay.
Okay, so that's that for this. Right?
Yeah.
And then what do we have to do next?
Okay,
There's the work we started with, right? The
yeah, so
operating model.
I sent you an email,
Okay.
and I don't know if you can open it because it's a Pages document, and for some reason it wouldn't let me save it as like a. Why don't we do this first?
From Cohen to us. Oops. Operating assumptions. This
Mhm.
one?
Yeah, so this is not finalized by
So
any
wait.
means.
This is a what kind of file is it?
Just a doc, just like a Word doc.
Okay, so
It's .pages. I don't know if it'll open on Word. It should. No, okay.
that's all right. I can rename it.
Will that work? Just renaming it?
Yeah. Let's see.
So I should say,
It should be
Or-
docx
or doc, yeah,
uh,
rich text format or something.
Is
like
it
that.
a rich text or is it just?
No, it's just a dot. It should be a
Word.
doc, but for some reason it wouldn't let me.
Hold on.
Save
I'll
it.
just rename it right here.
You know?
You don't need to do this. So assumptions, operations.
.docx.
Should I keep the dot pages or
I
not?
don't think it matters. It's just like it. There was no need for me to plug it into anything because it's basically a list of the assumptions that we would put into at the bottom of as notes, basically. Because when we do this other thing that we're doing, it's not didn't work.
Let's see.
No, let me send
Okay,
it.
so let me try it again. Yeah, just save it as, just save it. I mean, if you have the Word file, just send that to me.
Yeah, don't. I have a Pages file.
What are the pages file?
It's Mac.
Oh, you're on a Mac.
Yeah. You'd think by now.
By the way, for all our committee work, if you use Google Docs, everybody can access it, regardless of their computer.
Right.
There's no learning curve. It's like, just simple word processor. But export it as a Word document if you have that option.
Yeah, export to a Word. Got it. Oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah, that's some things that are not editable or whatever most of the time.
Right.
So now.
And by the way, if you guys need the font size blown up on here, I can do that. Can you read okay?
Yeah, fine.
Like, I can make it bigger if it's, no?
No, this is fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which one's the Word doc? Just Word doc. Okay. All right. Yeah, we should be able to open that.
That's not the.
Yeah, there's a new one coming.
All right.
It's from Gmail, so it should be pretty quick.
Not sure. There you go. All right, so. Download that. Open. All right. So. All right, so assumptions for leasing the property, including the store capital costs, 6 years. Okay.
What does
So-
expected carrying costs mean?
So that is not a number yet, so, but the carrying cost would be the carrying costs of like running the business, I would think, not for the whole property. So maybe I used the wrong language.
Oh, I just don't know what it means.
The costs of,
The
Which line item are you talking about?
I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. The minimum bid is set at 150%.
maybe it shouldn't say carrying costs, maybe it should say, because carrying costs might imply the total cost of the property. The 150% of expected expenses and improvements to the town. So,
I'm still not understanding.
okay, so like we should set a minimum bid at like, and I put 150%, maybe that's not the right number. But let's say we take the capital cost over 6 years and divide that by 6, that's the annual capital cost, kind of. So then if you set the,
What is capital cost got to do with leasing as a part I'm missing?
just so we have to make an assumption of like how much we would make by leasing it, right? So
Right.
if we set a minimum bid, it has to be based on some
So-
number.
No, I understand that, but I understand that the minimum bid has to be based on, the
What is-
analysis we did at the other spreadsheet.
Right.
What is the expected income? What's the net
Mhm.
income? And
Right.
based on that, figure out what the minimum bid ought to be.
Right.
But capital expenses to me seems like a completely same reason you removed them from the other spreadsheet.
Sure, but here it makes sense because the town has to outlay that money, so it's our cost of
So-
having
so
this
you're
business
saying-
run.
Whatever you're charging, the bid has to be over what would be those capital costs. Like that the town is not going in the red.
This is to lease the property. So if we lease the property and we're like, we're gonna lease you this campground, and it's gonna cost us $700,000 over 6 years to have the campground, to do these capital improvements,
Then they
we're
need
not gonna lease it
then
to
they
you for
need
less than
less
that
than
cost. Right, so that has to be covered by the lessee. So that,
If you want my, the way I'm looking at it is that yes, I understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from. The town doesn't want to, be in
Lose
the red
money.
on that.
yeah,
But at the same time, let's say I'm just making this up. This is
Sure.
not real.
yeah,
But let's say we have to replace, all the septic and everything. It's a huge cost, right? And
right,
we know that we're stuck with it. Why should, from a lessee consideration, yes, we'd like to get enough money from the lease
yeah.
that it covers our.
So that's why I wrote expected carrying costs. So it'd be like the ones that are assumed in the capital plan, right? So,
I'm looking at the.
So you're thinking like, okay, we did the spreadsheet and here's the net income
Yeah,
that you want, the lessee is going to
Mhm.
obviously get some of that and the town would get some of that.
yeah, the
So-
150% is just a number I put in there. So maybe it could be 78%. If you know what I mean, like it doesn't really matter. I just put that number in because I thought,
So what is the baseline for saying, okay, we want all of the profit? You know what I mean? No lessee is gonna come in and say, I'm not gonna do this without any profit.
right, of course,
And
right. So what that number is, that number is our assumption, right? So
okay, I think I understand that, you want the town to make enough money to cover the capital expenses
yes,
and.
because the town won't be operating the campground. So it doesn't need any money, for buying stuff in the store or that kind
Mhm.
of thing.
So, but the carrying cost term is confusing.
yes.
So-
Let's take that out.
so
I shouldn't have
what
wrote
should we-
carrying
So what
costs.
should we replace it with?
Expected capital expenses.
Averaged capital expenses or something like that, because you're taking.
Yeah,
Yeah, expected averaged
uh,
yearly, yeah, averaged,
Average.
yeah.
capital expenses.
You have to
Now, there
check
could be
the
some other expenses that I don't like foresee, that I haven't thought through, that the town might incur.
And that's why the
Um,
150%.
You know the original number that took all the income expenses
Mhm,
and where the expenses included capital expenses.
mhm.
But if we just say those numbers, it has to be 150%.
Yeah, so those numbers
So it's-
in the 704,805, that's the number, that's the total number that's on the 6-year capital plan.
Okay,
So that's where that number comes from. So if you divide that out by
by 6.
six,
it's like
that gives you an
120 or
average,
something.
it's like 120,000, no, not even, maybe
115,000 a year.
115,000 a year, that it will, like, we know that the town is gonna have to pay that, but it could have to pay more. If something
Right.
else fails or something unexpected happens. So
So that's why with 150%, you're covering some of the
Contingency.
Yeah, plus, making a
Yeah,
little money.
plus making a little money for the town.
And to give you a
Right.
perspective, it would be saying, okay, the lessee is going to pay about 160,000. Because doing the
Yeah,
math, that's,
that's what it's about.
so that's not unreasonable.
And that's a minimum bid.
Right.
And that doesn't include the opportunity to capture more revenue that the
Right.
Gauthiers don't do, because their overhead is low.
Mhm,
Like, their overhead is paying themselves.
Right,
Not, they rent the campground to themselves. The business
Mhm.
rents the campground from them. So now it's gonna be renting it from the town. They're paying themselves 400 and something $1,000 in rent on an annual basis, $400,000 to $500,000 in rent, but they're underpaying themselves their salary.
right,
But they also are possibly charging less than they could for campsite and everything like that. And then if somebody else is operating it, then they have more incentive to keep the store open longer, to generate more revenue than people who
Right.
are sort of entering retirement would do, that have been running it for years. So I think, so that was in my mind, that was like the reasonable number.
Mhm.
That
So,
sounds pretty reasonable.
and so I figured, okay, if we can present this as a minimum bid, 150% of the expected average capital costs. So like, what's the town gotta pay every year? It's about 120,000 spread over the 6 years.
Yeah,
And we say, our minimum bid is set this number. And I
right,
don't know everything about procurement law, but I believe that if there is a bid, if there's only one bid and it's under, the town can consider that.
okay,
We just set a minimum bid. If somebody bids or says, we don't want to bid that. But there was one other thing that I had spoken to SCORE recently again, and they had recommended that the town do an RFI, which is a request for information,
okay,
where basically they send out a request for information from potential bidders, and then they get feedback from that in an RFI rather than a request for proposals immediately, so that when the town actually decides to issue an RFP, they have the relevant information, like what people would be concerned about,
okay.
and what, those sorts of things. So I don't know if municipalities can do that or not. That's gonna have to be, I know the state can do it,
Mhm.
but I don't know if municipalities can do it. So that's off topic a little bit, because I think we just have to kind of do this.
Right,
And we should go through these and see if any of these don't make sense, because I just put them.
No, seriously. Where is how do I find a calculator on your computer?
I don't know, do you want me to
Oh,
calculate
I can
something?
calculate.
Yeah.
I've got a calculator up already.
All right, sorry.
Okay. No,
That's an unfamiliar computer for me. So,
No,
let's
see.
Word file. I completely lost. So how can I find my Word file that I was able to make? There we go. Okay. So 704,805 divided by 6. 704,805. I know it's in the 150 range, but
divided by 6
130.
equals, that's 117,467.50.
Okay, so,
think you need to put the 50
okay,
cents.
so times one.
1.5.
Yeah,
Oops.
times
176,201.
times 1.
No, equals 176.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
1.5 equals, and what's the final number?
176,201.
176,201. Okay, so that's the minimum bid. Yes.
And I don't know if that's good. I mean, we can make an assumption that that's a minimum bid.
Yeah, I
And
mean, and compare it with the projected net profit and see, would somebody want to do it for that, right? So,
right, exactly.
so what was our, we have to fix the spreadsheet, but it was at least in the 300-400 range, right?
Right,
Almost 500.
yeah.
Okay, that's,
So if we want to go into that right now, we can.
Let's go to the, okay, now the others, and then the lessee indemnifies town, carries an insurance policy, good?
So these are just a list of assumptions, and we can add to them if there's something that there's not that many assumptions that we have to make in order to do this, but we should make ones that people are going to wonder about, right? So
Yeah,
were we gonna have constraints on the lessee as to how much rent they can?
I don't think that's something that we should delve into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that can come later,
I think that comes in the RFP process.
right, so
And
we don't
I
have
really
to
don't
worry
think
about
we
that.
should do that.
Okay.
Because that's something that the procurement law is involved with. And I don't know what you're allowed to do, what you're allowed to stipulate in these contracts. And
Okay.
there's pretty specific things, like during the RFP process for the Lawrence Road, we had been too specific about the types of siding we wanted on the building, and certain things like that you're just not allowed to do. Like you can't say cedar shingles only in the, I guess so. I don't know. I don't exactly know what happened there, but they had to revise it because if you create too narrow of a spectrum, somebody can contest the bid. You could maybe be channeling it towards a certain developer or something like that. So there's
like we want.
Yeah. So I think we're not going to delve into that, I think, without advice from someone. So I think this is just sort of like to get a baseline. So when we do the next thing we should do, maybe we should do that now. So the one thing I put the assumption in for hiring an operator. I think for the bid thing, that's fine for our assumptions.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with all those things. The assumptions for hiring an operator, I got a little sort of confused, I think, as to so if you read down there, it's like the salary for the management company, well, I shouldn't say is responsible, or it'd be the management company is responsible for staffing and paying salaries and wages.
Right.
I don't know that that's true. I mean,
I think it is because
would be right because you're contracting with a company to operate.
I mean, I think that's what the group wants, because the group doesn't want.
How is that different than from leasing it?
Well, because we'd essentially, so we'd see, that's where this is what I'm saying. I don't know, because I think, let's say we hired like a contractor, I don't know, let's say the town hires or SPAT, for instance, hires a M.A. Fraser to do all the disposable garbage and toilets and all that stuff. He's getting paid on a contract basis to do that. It has nothing to do with the income or outgoing of the operation at that point, but he's paying all his guys to do that kind of contract.
Right.
But I guess that's different a little bit.
Well,
but
I think the way the management would work would be, they're taking care of all the operations, which would be staff and salary and minimal repairs, upkeep.
Right.
And so So there is,
Would the town be
So-
cutting the checks?
So I gotcha.
I don't know.
So first thing we should probably capture after the capital expense line is what is he expected to do? Like, the things you mentioned,
Right,
the hiring the employees, managing the employees.
right, yeah. We just have to make assumptions. They don't have to be right, I guess, because,
yeah, the town is cutting a check to the management company. But is it, like, do they post invoices? This is our monthly payroll.
is the town
and
cutting the
costs.
payroll checks? Is
Yeah.
it town? I don't know. Is there an enterprise
I don't
fund
think
that
so.
does that?
I think they're cutting a big check to the management company, and the management company is writing all the checks to the people and to the
Okay, so
store.
it's very
And
similar to leasing, except that leasing is more of a black box and town cannot lose money, whereas when you have a operator company,
Mhm.
then they're just saying, this is our, income and this is
the
our.
town could lose money,
you could
or it
lose
could
money.
make more money.
Yeah,
Right,
right, okay, I see that while there are similarities, that's a big difference, right?
yeah,
Right.
that's the biggest difference. And I think that the control is still under whoever's operating it, because the town's trying to keep its hands off it at that point. It's not a department of the town.
Right.
So the management company still has control over operation, but the town have a little bit more control to basically make demands of the operator, yeah, because they're
Let's see what you
contracted.
got and see how.
Yeah,
So total income is of the properties maintained at or above the previous.
So they
3-year
can't
average.
just like sit back and relax and say, okay, we're,
Okay,
that's an assumption that we're gonna be
at least.
at least making the same amount that we are making. So
Yeah.
just when we go into the next thing, which is our criteria and stuff like that, we are making an assumption that like the property is going to at least make the same amount of money, and therefore if we did this, the town would stand to make this much money or lose this much money,
okay.
because it's impossible to
Right.
just guess, So I was just thinking we need an assumption.
Right,
So the management company wouldn't really have
They
a
would get paid
salary, they would have
a contract.
So they would have, it's kind of like a subcontractor, right? Town hires, so the model I'm seeing here is that the town hires contracts with a company to say,
Capgemini.
what?
Novo Nordisk works with Capgemini.
Yes, so,
I'm just connecting it to like,
Yeah.
To what I do.
companies,
Yeah,
software companies, and they have a
Yeah.
subcontractor.
yeah,
Yeah.
so basically you hire a subcontractor
Right,
and say, go run this within certain parameters that we're gonna lay out.
right,
And as part of running it, you're gonna incur expenses and you're gonna generate income, and we wanna see a full balance sheet and,
mhm,
if the net is a profit, then you're gonna give us the profit. If the net is a loss, then,
that's on us.
that's on us. We're gonna write you a check to cover that. But part of the expense, one of the expenses of this would be not just the payroll of employees, but.
But the cost of the management company.
Exactly, they're cut, yeah.
They're cut, yeah, which would probably be a lump sum plus a profit share. Because you'd want to have some incentive for a company to
Right.
actually
Otherwise, they could sit back and.
sit back and run a big loss for the town and still get their base pay.
That's a good, yeah.
So now a management company wouldn't do the minimal maintenance that the lease person would?
No, I think in this situation, the town would be responsible for all of the maintenance and repairs and expenses. But I don't know. This is where I got confused.
I
This is
think
where I
think
was
that's
like,
correct, because. Okay, hang on.
we'd be
one second.
liable for it, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's say, instead of responsible, liable.
But operating, so if they're operating, let's say somebody's, has a leak in their plumbing,
Yeah,
right? So it's their job to contract with a
fixed.
plumber,
yeah,
get them, and that's part of their expenses.
Yeah.
But the town doesn't have to repair it, but the town has to pay the plumber's bill.
Right. I would think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Right, I think I was reading that statement as the town, like.
How about we
the
put liable instead of responsible?
Liable doesn't sound right either. It's be responsible for paying for,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Paying for all would be responsible to pay for
No, I think the for paying for,
paying responsible
For paying
for
paying.
paying
yeah,
all maintenance. It's
all
not
maintenance, repairs, and capital costs
yeah.
and expenses. Yeah. The compensation of the management company would include a 20% profit sharing incentive. So
that's just an assumption. Somebody could, when they do the RFP, if they decided we wanted to go this way, they could be like 20% is too much or 20% is not enough. You know, we think a base salary of this plus this. That's something like the town administrator would work through with someone to set that number, but we have to make some assumption, I think, so we could figure out a base pay that the operator would get plus that and see where that equals. Does
So-
it even make sense financially, you know?
So I'm adding some notes on, just what you said. Will be fine tuned by town administrators.
I would say so.
No, this
And brought
looks,
to select board or whatever. I think you don't even have to write that. I mean, that's just a
This is
note
not in the
anyway.
documents, more
Yeah.
capturing what we're talking.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's good. I mean, that's essentially what it would happen, I think, is that some document would be created by a contract, basically would be created through the town administrator's office, that would be brought to the select board probably to look over. And I don't know, because these are types of things like, we've not really done this type of thing before. So like,
So
if there's a contract for dredging or something, like we approve the
Mhm.
contract. We don't necessarily approve, we do approve RFPs too. So, I mean, yeah,
So one thing about this Gautier 125,000, that was,
what
A
they
special
said it would
case.
cost to replace, no, that's what he said it would cost to replace them.
yeah, but if you look at our payroll
Mhm.
calculations in the spreadsheet, we've already covered that, I believe.
Yeah, so if you have
Yeah.
that number that
Have
you
we-
guys
Have we
got,
included the 125,000 for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Okay, but that's part of,
this is
okay,
the assumptions just for operations. There's nothing to do with the spreadsheet,
gotcha,
right?
okay,
So,
so compensation.
but if it links to the spreadsheet, that's better, you know? So, but I think what he said to us in that meeting was that if you were to replace them as managers for
right,
that,
Yeah.
that
for
span
their
of
work,
time,
yeah.
as managers,
Can I
it would be about 125.
Yeah, can I suggest that we, for both of these,
Yeah,
the set of assumptions, we basically create 2 additional tabs in the spreadsheet, because
yeah.
then when and where we need to link to cells in the,
You're speaking another language, but go
Yeah.
for it.
yeah, then it's also, that's one advantage in the set.
Yeah.
If we change the assumption in one place, it magically changes everywhere.
Okay,
The other advantage is that it's all in one document that's got
Right.
version controls that, because I
Yeah.
keep at each critical junction, like when Nancy and I update this based on our
Yeah.
meeting today, it'll be a new version, keeping the old version intact.
Okay,
So just fewer documents to manage.
okay, so
Everything's
that's
in
what
one.
you're gonna make this into a
Two
different a sheet on the document.
same spreadsheet, but 2 separate tabs or 2 sheets in that Excel or Google
Yeah.
sheet.
Okay,
Is that okay, Mike?
yeah.
this looks great.
Yeah, these are
So now
spot
what
on.
do we have to do?
So now we have to go into the document that you made, the
Great.
spreadsheet,
Grading criteria.
the grading criteria. And then I was reading about these types of creating values for these things. And so what we should do is create a cell that basically has a value for each one of these. And the value
Like
would
a
be
ranking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
no, the value. So the value would be a multiplier.
Multiplier, exactly, that's what I was thinking.
And then we would come up with a final grade for
Okay.
each one of these things. So And those the value is like how beneficial it is, right? So
Right,
if it's like 1 to 10, we should probably use a 1 to 10,
1 to
I think,
10, yeah.
because when you start multiplying it,
Yeah.
you know, 5 and 4 suddenly make a big difference. You
Yeah,
know, so if you have like 7 and 8 and it's multiplied by
Yeah.
whatever,
yeah.
so we should probably do the multiplier.
The two ways I've seen it done is the way you just
Yeah.
said 1 to 10, or just low, medium, high, which is much less
Yeah.
granularity.
I
But
think let's just do it and multiply it
Sure.
and see where we wind up,
Okay.
and then maybe we have to make some adjustments. But if we bring that up, I think
do you know where that is?
I feel like
I
we
have it.
I feel like we got pretty close the last time we met, and then me and Farouk did something else and went back on a previous document and started editing it last time we had a meeting, and then and that one, I was like, I kept being like, I feel like this is new to me for some reason, but maybe it's just me and my bad memory or whatever.
Here's
And,
what you shared with me, the folder, Nancy.
Yeah,
Is it in here or no? No, Mike and I were looking for it, and
it's
so-
not in this folder, no.
okay. So do I need, so we have to go share it with me? Oops, 1 second. Let me just go back. I'm gonna open this in a separate. Hello. What's the deal here? Shared with me. No? Okay, I'll just do it. Okay. So now what are we looking for, Nancy?
I don't, well, go back up. Is it right, one of these at the top?
Options for operating, this one?
Check it and see.
See, the thing is, okay, maybe I should log in as you.
Well, let's see if this is it.
No, but there are multiple copies. I was quite, we started editing in a stale copy, Nancy, and that's like, as a software engineer, that's a criminal offense.
Okay, so this is an old one because option 3 is the town.
Yeah, and we started editing that, so,
Okay, all right, yeah, go to me, I guess.
okay. But you can make versions, but not copies. So.
Yeah, but you're just
I-
speaking a different language.
I have
What's the
multiple
difference
copies.
between a version and a copy? So
Okay, you're right there. That's very good. It's person 1.
that's,
Are you person 1?
I don't know.
Okay. Call it.
I'm this one right there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm
Then it
at, right?
should be called Nancy, not person 1. Okay.
Okay, and what am I looking for?
Come here. You're gonna go to Google Drive. So go to Drive.
It's
Hey,
so
hey,
hard
buddy,
to
get
do
away from
this
this.
stuff through a Zoom meeting.
You know what, you get,
There's
this
something.
feel like these dishes right now. So everybody's looking at it. Okay.
And there's plenty more, Mike, if you wanna.
Get away from there, Joe. Get away from there. Get away.
Yeah. So how's it doing there?
No, I think this is it here, buddy.
You found it?
I'm gonna turn this
Yeah, I
off.
don't think we eliminated that option 3 yet from the spreadsheet
Okay.
because
Did you want to drive, or?
No, you've been doing a good job.
You've been doing a terrific job of taking notes, which we'll all be relying on later. So,
oh yeah, I don't do well at either of those.
Nancy's very good at.
Yeah, I fall asleep if I'm not writing.
Okay. And so was there anything in that?
So do you want to save this into the
Oh,
folder?
it's not in the folder.
So go to file, move,
File, move.
Not make a copy.
But before.
That's what I would do.
No. Copies are a criminal offense, like I said. Okay, so which one was it?
review and not, is that one? Yeah. Thank you.
It's there. Okay, now, and that folder has been shared with me, so I can go back to being me,
I think so.
and Okay, there's me. Oh, okay, now I go here and choose me. There we go. Okay, so now that doesn't look like what your computer is doing. It's driving me nuts. Okay. I'm sorry, this.
I can't even use a Windows computer anymore, so it's more
Yeah,
I
I don't use Windows at all, but yeah, that's part of the problem I'm having here. There's a folder shared with me.
take your time.
Form.
You're my email.
I have logged in as me. Okay, no wonder I'm having these problems. Cancel. Okay. So there we go. That's what I was looking for. That's got my shared folder, and if I go here, no, there's a folder for Maurice that you shared with me, and that's what I'm looking for. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Okay. From Cole Nancy. No, not here. So I'm getting recorded. What am I looking for? Maurice.
Well, it's just that you're not on a
For-
shared screen anyway.
Oh, okay, good.
You're not.
The word folder, that's what I'm looking for. Folder shared with you. That's this time I'm gonna,
Make sure it has it.
yeah, open link. Okay, this is what I want to share.
And I didn't get that document, didn't get on here.
Give me a second. I gotta figure out. Okay, so I want to start keeping track of stuff. Maurice. Save. Okay. Now, that folder didn't get here.
That sheet didn't get here.
Okay, so
That might be it, the one right up top there that has a green cross on it.
the green cross. This one?
Check it out.
That's the profit.
Okay.
That's our. So I'm gonna have to go back to yours, and
Yeah, that's it, the business model criteria. That's
this
it.
one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this is logged in as me. Okay. Why when we moved it, where did we move it to?
I think we moved it to the wrong.
File, move. Okay, so which, gosh, I'm sorry, Mike, you have to
No, it's fine.
watch how the
What
sausage
if you just
is made.
rename that?
Okay, for now,
So that-
we'll sort this out later. For now, what I'll do is anyone with link share. Okay, so I'm just gonna get the link is okay, I got it. Okay, now here's the link. Now I'll go as me, which is here. Control T. Okay, so I'm gonna add this to Maurice as well. So you can figure out quickly where it is and then move things around later. Okay, so we are settled.
Okay.
So are the possible points, is that what you mean by the self for each criteria?
I
What I
think,
put as
yes, I
possible
think we
points.
should put that as value.
Okay, value.
Weight, or value is
Yeah,
a
weight is fine too, weight
Okay.
is fine.
weight factor, weight multiplier. Well, let's just weight is fine.
In the document I was looking at, they use the word value, that's. what
Value?
I use.
I've never seen, because value is somewhat of a very overloaded term, whereas,
And I use points because I was a teacher.
weight is a basically, you
Just go with value.
okay.
It doesn't matter to me,
All right.
honestly,
Value slash weight
Yeah.
slash
No,
multiplier.
get rid of that
What? Get rid of-
multiplier, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, okay. So,
So, yeah, okay, so then we would just go through and rank the importance of these things, so the higher the
are
value,
we removing option 3?
yeah, we remove that, let's just remove it.
Oh. And
We can put a big like rejected stamp on it, that would be fine.
before we do any changes, should we do the,
No, just get rid of it,
No.
it's gonna be gone.
okay, no, what I meant to say is, we want to make a version so that.
I don't think we need to, because we're just right at this point now, I think we just gotta move forward with whatever and never go
Delete
backward
column.
again.
Column. Option 3,
Delete that column too.
okay,
Okay, and so in our notes, or when I'll type probably something up after
okay,
we're done with this, and it will just say, basically summary of each things, the assumptions that we made for each of those, and why we ruled out
okay,
option 3, without scoring it.
yeah,
Okay,
okay,
so I think if we think of anything else to add, we've been through this pretty extensively, I think, as far as the criteria,
yeah,
and I don't know if there's much to add, but if we think of something, we can
that's,
certainly add that into the criteria
Yeah.
as we go. But I think at this point, we can just assign a value. And maybe what we should do is just sort of like each go through every one and kind of write down the value that we think. And then
Right.
we can come up with an average between the
Right,
3 of
so-
us of how we think that value is. And maybe we can adjust that if somebody says, hey, but I think this is worth
so
more.
for instance, exposure to financial liability for option 1 leasing, that's a tremendous value. We don't have any exposure.
We're valuing the criteria, not leasing or management company right now.
Yeah, we're just putting a value on the total, because this is a multiplier.
Uh-huh.
So how important is this thing,
Oh,
this object, exposure to financial liability?
it's
We're
extremely
ranking
important,
that.
so that would be a 10.
That would be a 10 or so,
Gotcha, okay,
or whatever we want to
Alright.
do,
okay. So let's talk about this. So is this a 10?
Yeah, let's go with the.
I would think 10,
Okay,
yeah.
and why is there okay, they may be different for the other.
So now
option.
that's when you that's when you rank the option for the campground, or so like exposure to financial liability is going to be like a worse number for this than leasing, right? Because we have no exposure to financial liability. So when you add in the points here, let's say this scores a 7 and this scores a 3, then you're going to multiply it by the 10. You know what I mean?
I see. Yeah.
So then when we get to the bottom, then this weight matters, because if we just go 5, 3, then.
So
the
these are
things
this
that
is the individual score, so option 1 points, so that's, so yeah, option 1's points to score, whatever, so score better?
Yeah, go for score.
Score.
And then, and then basically you,
So 2 S's.
oh, sorry, thanks. So then you multiply it with the value slash weight, you'd multiply each of the scores, and then you get a. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So
Gotcha.
exposure to financial liability is probably the most important thing
Yeah,
for the town.
yeah,
Like, what's our exposure to the financial liability?
that's, so with the lease, it's probably, it's not.
We'll do that part after.
Let's give
So
all
just
the
go
weight
right down
values.
here and get all the weight values. of everything.
Yeah,
And then, so reservation system, I thought, did we
I don't know. Is that even a
delete
thing?
that stuff at some point?
Yeah, let's skip that because I'm not understanding how that would.
I think that
be-
was back from when we had a lot more.
so I thought.
Can we scroll through this and make sure that, let's scroll through the criteria. Yeah, I think we did, let's see. I just want to make sure that this is actually the most recent version.
How would we? And this is exactly why I was saying, let's be very clear about our versions.
Okay, let me take a look here, 1 second.
Yeah, let's just make sure that we have the right version up. And you know what, it could be the last one that you shared with me, Nancy.
Was populated or something?
No, I don't know, no, I'm just saying that maybe that is it. And we just didn't decide, because we got moved onto the financial spreadsheet right after that meeting.
Okay, yep.
So, because we were waiting to hear from an accountant, and then that I found out was not really a plausible thing. Because they can't verify that stuff without an audit, which is highly, expensive and extensive. That's why no one would do it. Okay, I think
If you just go to drive.google.com.
July 18th, yeah, this is gonna be, version I have is probably the last one that we did. Yeah, that's the one you have open.
The one that I have open is the right one?
Yes, the one you had open is the right one,
Okay.
because I have 10 in there. And unless you saved it as a different version after that meeting. But I think that was live, we edited that. Right,
It's not showing changes I made. This is the copy that we wrong copy that we opened. See, it says last edit made 14 days ago by me. Remember when we made edits to the wrong version? This is that wrong version.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
No, because we opened it at the end and then we decided to call it. I think that's correct.
If that's correct, that's not what I was editing 5 minutes ago.
Oh, that's not, oh, okay, I have this, maybe I didn't look at that.
So if
I have this one.
so yours is not on Google Drive, so it's just your copy. It means nothing, So,
All right, yeah, I don't know, yeah,
So,
I just don't know the
so if
technology.
that, no, it's not a matter of technology, it's a matter of what is the single point of truth, right?
Right,
So it's gotta be in Google Drive because that's the only shared thing. If that is just on your computer, nobody on this planet has that copy unless you.
but when you just edited it and put 10 up there, it showed up in that copy.
Oh, that, it did,
That's a live copy.
okay, then it's not, all right, sorry, I take it back, sorry.
Okay,
But
this is an old one. This is one we are not going.
that's,
Mhm.
so delete it.
Okay, how do I delete that?
File. Or just rename it to rename it to delete me, yeah. You said file rename, that's not like that. I don't know what that does.
It does, I think.
Okay. Did it change it? Did you see that?
Here you go.
This is the most recent one?
No, it's not, because it doesn't show the 10 that we put in there, so I'm gonna find the most recent one. But this one should be file renamed to obsolete. Okay, so now if we go to the one that I was editing, that is the one I was editing. Oh, that's not the, okay,
Yeah,
there's
put
the 10.
10.
Sorry. All right, file rename.
Okay. All right, so general liability to town, that's certainly 10, right?
Yeah, so this is what, I think we went through these and we weren't sure if we should have these. I'm not sure what reservation system, let's delete that. I
Yeah.
don't think that needs to be in.
No, 'cause
That-
it's gonna be.
I think it shows up somewhere further down the document.
Yeah, and also it might be up to the management company
Yeah.
or the leasing company what they want to do.
It just doesn't, it's not really
It might have
criteria.
been maybe when we were running it ourselves as a town,
Mhm,
that it was like a negative thing, like, oh, we
Right.
have to do this.
right,
Okay, now,
But
No,
if we're
what-
not running it, we don't have to do these things. So
so accounting, if we're having a company, hire a management company, they
is
would,
there oversight for the bookkeeping and accounting that they do? Does the town have to do some oversight?
yeah, I mean,
'Cause they
I would
wouldn't have to-
definitely have to do
They
oversight.
wouldn't be
of
the
that.
accountant for it, but they'd have.
Well,
to-
either way, there's going to be some kind of revolving fund or what's it called, enterprise fund for the campground as a whole, like for the property.
Mhm.
And so there'll be some either way, but the management of that becomes much easier when it's just like dealing with the income and capital expenses rather than the entire
Right,
operation,
right, paying.
oversight
everybody.
of the entire operation.
Yeah.
So I'm just not sure if these belong in sub heading of exposure to financial liability.
Oh, right.
so,
I think those we meant to get out of there.
so they're just being moved out or are they being deleted?
Let's move them to the bottom for now, just so that if they fit somewhere else that we need them, or maybe we can find out where they. I think ease of operation for the town, and I feel like we might have even put them down there and didn't delete them. If you go down to 5,
Okay.
so there's 5A.
I see
Yeah, it is down
website,
there.
Yeah, we meant to delete those out of there, and we just didn't delete them.
okay,
That's all.
so,
Yeah, so delete those.
all right,
Okay.
and by the way, what's the reason for these numbers?
I don't know.
Should I just get,
Yeah.
No, leave them there for now.
I mean, they don't serve any purpose.
Well, they might later on, there might be like sub.
I think it's because we have sub.
But if you have
things.
sub, you can use indentation.
Yeah, don't worry about those numbers right now.
Okay. So now we have the value propositions, and so we did those value propositions, and we could write on the bottom, like C addendum or something like that, or C value propositions included in, I think.
Wait a second, we gotta, what are these column headers? Like, what is this column? Oh, these are the options, okay.
Yeah.
So this should be pinned. I forget how to pin. All right, I won't hold you guys to it, but okay. View, there we go. Okay, freeze one row. Okay, now when we scroll, okay, good.
Okay,
And what are we doing?
we're given scores of the value weight, column B.
Right, so general liability to the town. So I think,
That's
you
a
know,
10 too.
I don't know if I would put a 10 as a, because we have a general liability policy. I think
Okay.
it's definitely ranks high, but I don't know that.
Okay, 7.
It's covered by insurance.
Or so it's covered by insurance, and it's gonna have some cost to it to have the insurance company add more property, but I think we might have to incur that anyways, just,
Okay, so
so maybe 8 or 7.
okay. Value proposition, the idea that
Yeah, so the value propositions, let's put value propositions, because I think we had them all listed in there. And I think maybe we should write meets value propositions. And then instead of providing nightly, weekly, and seasonal lodging, you can write, you can just delete that and write something like see addendum or report or whatever, because we'll list those value propositions in there that we had written. Do you remember? We went through and did all the value propositions. And so like, when we do that one, we can rank this right now as a weight and value, but when we look at the value propositions, like one might outdo another, and
Value propositions addendum.
yeah. That's fine.
By the way, is Maurice Campground business model criteria or
No,
operating model
Should
criteria?
be
Operating model?
operating model. Yeah.
And so meets value propositions, we'd have to,
so that's the idea that it provides housing for seasonal workers and low income
is
for
there a difference
residents
between,
who rent in the winter.
is there a difference between the options? Should,
Well, it may be, but
okay,
maybe
Okay.
they'll come the same, but
so
I
that's,
think we
that's a
just,
high value. I mean,
I
that's the
would say
whole reason
probably
why
like-
we're doing it.
yeah, well, I think the value propositions we did were for the reason to keep the campground running, not necessarily provide housing in the future, right?
Right.
So,
Okay.
so when we did those value propositions, it's like creating a space for like maintaining seasonal worker housing, those types of things.
Mhm.
And you know, whether you lease it or hire a management company, I think you'd have more control over that kind of thing if you hired a management company. Say we want you to keep the rates,
Oh, okay,
you know what I mean? So,
right,
so I think there's some slight differences, but when we rate those, we should review the value propositions. But I think the value propositions themselves, probably like a 6 or 7 or something like that. Like the purpose of running the campground, you know what I mean? For those, I mean, maybe we should look at them now before we give that a weight, but I seem to remember it being like, provide a good
So-
experience
so
for
is
people
that a
with modest
separate-
means.
So that's a separate spreadsheet and
It's not a spreadsheet, it was like you had sent out, I'll bring it up on my computer. We went through the business model canvas from SCORE,
yeah,
and we did a whole thing, and then we put that in there. All the value propositions were listed in the criteria, but then we decided, and you weren't at this meeting, this was a meeting that you weren't at and Nancy was at, that really we need to rank like which one meets just the overall value propositions better. And let me just bring that up because I can't totally.
and I see this one has some sub items, guaranteed profit to town.
Those are old. So that was something that came from a different.
I think I just put that in there, I was trying to think, what does that mean, you know?
Yeah, there was some stuff left over that we didn't delete. We might need to, you know, hone in on this a little bit.
So that's the that's, I mean, I would summarize those two as profit potential.
Yeah, so that's in there somewhere further down. So I think if you scroll down, I think those are meant to be deleted also.
So should I go ahead and delete?
Let's go down and see further down the list if there's anything in there that's,
Cost
Yeah.
structure, revenue stream, points of retail revenue. So this is stuff that I'm not getting intuitively.
yeah, no. I think maybe
I can
we might
definitely
need
see.
to put a little bit more time into these.
Yeah, I can
criteria.
definitely see the potential for profit
Yeah,
as a
I
important.
thought we had added profitability to the town, and it should probably be up at the top where it says like general liability to the town. Underneath that, it
So I
should
would just
say,
put that here. Profit. I don't see this is there.
yeah.
So
just put it in there.
profitability for town, or just profitability.
For town,
Yeah,
because we don't
yeah,
care.
for town.
So this, yeah, exactly, you're right. So this is, how important is this? Well, definitely don't want to lose money, but
Yeah, I would say probably a 7 or 8,
yeah, not a 10, but I'd say between 7 and 8, you have a preference?
I mean, our goal really is for this to
Not lose money
not
and
lose money and to pay for itself. So I
Yeah.
think
7
profitability is great, but it's not the
Top.
primary objective of doing this. We're not,
so
our primary objective is not to profit. So I would probably put a 7.
okay, all right.
If you guys feel similar to that. So then just, you can delete those.
Well, no, that,
Because we're gonna put oh wait, yeah, okay.
yeah, we're gonna put the number here.
Oh, yeah, okay, so then we can take a note for each of those things actually as we go through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we can put.
Okay, customers dealing with lodgers and store patrons. So
I swear we had done some things that are not in this document and I just don't. Cause I swear we had things that were just like, oh, we have ease of operations for the town. Underneath
yeah,
there.
yeah. I see that.
Okay,
So
customer segment, I'm not sure why we still have that in there.
dealing with lodgers. So dealings with
It's
lodgers.
because we had the town as an option before, that's why. By eliminating that, it basically eliminates the need for that item, I think.
So what was this trying to capture, that in terms of how much people headache the town has to deal with?
Yeah, yeah, basically like general interactions between the town and the consumers.
So you
Right.
kind of covered it with the liability and all that. So
Yeah, that was really, I think, in there as something that would
So,
be like really,
delete
if
the whole
the
thing?
town was operating it as a department, then it would have these
right,
kind of complaints and interactions and
right,
whatever directly with consumers of the campground and
right.
everything like that. And he
So
basically,
now town has, I mean, okay, in the option 2, maybe the town has to have a little more.
yeah, but the town can say, take it up with the management company.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
so I think that one's kind of become obsolete by deleting the third
So
option.
delete this altogether.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
If you.
Yeah, no, I agree, yeah. And then ease of operations for town is
I think that's fairly high on the list.
yeah, exactly. So is it a 9 or a 10?
I would say probably a 9.
Okay. And
Do we do these sub things? I mean, I kind of think
If the town's not
taking those
if
reservations.
we're not doing option 3, then we don't need to break all these things down to some degree.
yeah.
But I don't know if you just leave them at, for now, as,
That's why I wanted to make a version so that if we ever wanted to go back for anything, now I don't, that's what happens is that we now want to leave things just in case we might need it.
Right. Well, I feel comfortable everything we deleted so far. So if you want to make another version right now, then that might make sense. I mean, I don't think anything we've deleted should be gone back to.
So we don't even know where this file is right now. So versions would be a little bit harder on the fly. So let's not do that. What I can do is I can download a copy, and that's our backup in case.
So this is all updating on my file.
Yeah. This copy that I'm downloading, I'm not going to be editing. That's more like that's like my snapshot, if you will.
Right.
Okay, so I just have it for in case we need it. Now we can freely delete. Okay, so what are we deleting? All these 5A, B, C, D, E, F.
I don't know if we should delete them or leave them as well,
But
we
don't want to have clutter. The more we can simplify, the better. If we're concerned about capturing these somewhere, we can figure out where to capture it and resurrect it from.
Right. Yeah, I think actually it just makes sense to delete them, because all these things were a byproduct of having a third option where the town actually manages it. And then, it's a very different, it changes everything for the town.
The only thing about here, the website, is that something? So is that
Release it, there's no website, but I think we can just leave this under ease of operations for the town. And so maybe we can just consider that when we rank these two things, like, because the town would have to probably have a website if it hired a management company. But I don't know if the town would actually run the website, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like an operator would probably create a website, operate the website.
See, the thing is that websites need to continue from, let's say we had one operating company today, and 3 years from now we had another that didn't work out.
Okay.
We want to keep the same website, right?
Yeah. So I guess that would just sort of like change the ranking for option 2 and option 1, right? So
ease of operations, so is the website a separate line item is what I'm asking. Managing Campground website. It's one of the operations. Yes, we just deleted the menu, but
well, then if that went in there, it would be like also like I think maybe we should have overhead for the town, because it would certainly be a difference in the overhead that the town carries if it had to pay out, right? So whether it's dealing with a website or paying for the items to stock the store or anything like that, that would be like expenses to the town.
So
maybe that should be a separate.
It's not so much. I was not thinking of it as expense, but headaches the town has to, like, you've used the term overhead. Things the town has to do in option 2.
So maybe it does make sense to make a list of the ease of operations for the town, but it doesn't include some of the things that are in there.
All right, so I agree. So let's say in option 2. So in option 1, we have very little say. We could stipulate that the as part of the RFP that they have to use a certain reservation system, but typically let's assume that whoever takes it does it. We don't get into their business. Right. But with option 2, we don't want to have the website, the reservation system, etc., be changed, every time we get a new operator. That's ours, that's not the operator's job.
Right.
So there's more headaches for the town
Right.
on an ongoing basis. So let's go down this list and see which ones. So reservations needs to be there. We need to keep that. Staffing office hours. We don't need to worry about it in either case. We remove, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Purchasing goods needed to operate. We don't do the purchase in either case. We pay the bills. But
Right. Oversight of the operation, like general oversight.
okay, yeah. So I'm just going to change this one to general oversight.
Maybe write management oversight or something.
Management oversight.
I guess.
Operations. Okay, and then let's delete purchasing goods because it's covered by the previous one. Yeah.
What's the previous one?
Well, just overall oversight, right? So if the operator says, I bought this and this for the store, you wanna look and make sure, because a dishonest person would say, I bought a bunch of shit that they didn't buy. And
how about instead of management oversight of operations, we write oversight of management and expenses?
Oversight of management oversight of books, or is it just expenses?
No, I think it would probably be
'Cause
oversight of accounting, management and accounting.
yeah, of management and accounting.
Yeah, I think accounting's actually in there again down lower.
Okay. So this one will capture several of the. So it captures including the purchasing of goods needed to operate. So we can delete this one,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yes.
Okay. And then managing campground.
That can be deleted, I think,
Yeah.
because that's
managing staff, delete.
yeah.
Other than we don't. Yeah, we're hiring a company to do all that. Grounds and maintenance. In both cases, well, the town may have some grounds and maintenance.
No, we gotta leave that in there.
Yeah, for the option 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Seasonal startup and shutdown. We'll probably have to leave that for option 2, right?
I think so. Yeah. We definitely, if we were hiring an operator, we would have to pony up the money to stock the store and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then funds to stock, store, propane, opening costs. Well, funds in. No, we don't have to worry about funding anything, seeding anything for option 1, but for option 2, we do. Bookkeeping and accounting, you already covered. So.
Yeah, you can delete bookkeeping and accounting. And I think seasonal startup and shutdown would probably include funds to. If we put seasonal startup and shutdown. No, I think leave that stuff in there. Funds to stock the store.
All right.
So now I'm wondering, maybe what we do is, do we rank those with a weight, or do we just leave those as subs for
Ease of operations.
ease of operations
I think it's subs.
that we're considering?
Yeah, I think leave it just as subs.
Or maybe when we go to option 1 where we score each one of those and then multiply it by the weight. I don't know. That might throw everything off.
I think it'd throw it off. I think when you see more subs, it might help us go back and maybe we say, well, gosh, this is weighted more because look at all these things.
So just to understand what you just said, are we weighting individual sub items or just the top?
I think just the top line item.
Yeah.
And I think maybe
because there's a pattern to all that,
Yeah, exactly.
because
because it's gonna skew the score if we try and divide that out by,
Yeah,
everything is carrying that 9 weight. And
yeah,
we multiply each individual
Yeah, so-
sub item.
okay, so that's 9. Costs to deliver on our business model. What is this? Cost structure, cost to deliver on our business model. Fixed costs, variable costs. Remind me what this was.
I think this was something that related back to the canvas that we did in the beginning,
Mhm.
but I don't know that it's needed when we go up and put financial liability to the town.
On this one, that is one that I should put delete. This
Oh,
one.
this looks more,
Don't tell me that's the latest one. At this point, this is the latest one.
okay, but we need to take some stuff from this. because
Okay,
This was the latest one.
It has some nicer language.
Oh, wait,
In some ways, I don't know.
no, hold on.
search and destroy all copies.
It looked like it was from long ago, but like, I don't know.
I think this was the first one we did. And then some of this is not, some of this we should maybe revisit. That is the latest one, I believe.
Okay, good. Yikes.
Yeah, this is old.
Okay,
Yeah,
This is very old.
this was before we
Yeah.
did the
The
exercise.
canvas, yeah.
yeah.
So,
And we'll work on the formatting, like you don't need the G, A, B, C, D, you
No.
can use indentation and.
yeah,
that
that sounds good. That we can take care of later. So, but in here it does say annual profits or losses. We don't have that in here. I think we should get rid of cost structure. I don't think that makes sense. I think that was from the canvas we got from store,
Mhm.
and delete that.
All right,
And then I think we should probably get rid of revenue stream and change that to
did we already do profit potential somewhere?
Profitability
For town, yeah. So is that already covered?
that's kind of covered. Yeah. And I think maybe like ease of contracting was something we had brought up before, but I don't see that in there, but oops, I lost that. It went to sleep.
Ease of contracting,
Yeah,
what does that mean?
so the RFP and the setting up the lease or setting up the contract with the management company.
Okay.
So maybe that's ease of operations.
Well, operations is once it's already set up.
You're right.
I think what you're talking about is
Oh, this says complexity of contracting.
Yeah,
complexity of contracting. That's a good way to
yeah,
put it.
that's, yeah.
Okay. So I'll capture that. Complexity of
Someplace we had ease of modification or flexibility.
complexity of contract.
I think the flexibility's there either way. I think like,
So, or instead of putting it negatively, simplicity of contracting or complexity, because complexity.
yeah, we gonna have to figure out when we weight these, whether they're in the positive or the negative, because if we assign a
Exactly.
weight to liability of the town of 10, financial liability to the town of
So it should be
10,
written as minimize liability to town. Always
Right.
present it in a
everything
positive.
has to be in a
Positive, yeah. So simplest ease of contracting.
Yeah, that's what we had.
Okay,
Ease of
ease of
contract.
contracting. So ease of contracting, it's a one-time thing. Well, we hope, but.
I would just put that as like a 5 or 6. I don't think it really matters all that
Alright.
much.
Okay,
And maybe we don't need to do 1 through 10. Maybe we'll decide 1 through 5 makes more sense if everything's going between like 5 and 10. You know what I mean? If we don't have any ones in there or like, you know,
yeah, when I was talking about low, medium, high, that was 1, 2, 3, basically.
yeah. So maybe doing 10 doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, then you arguing, oh, is it a 7, is it an 8, is it a,
Yeah. Well, I'm just
So-
looking
so-
at it, we have
okay.
10, 8, 7,
all right,
9.
so then, so the next thing, if you're not doing 1 through 10, then it's either 1 through 5 or 1 through 3. Pros and cons of 1 through 5.
I think 5 gives you a greater multiplier.
But it has similar problems as the 10 that you,
I think 3 has too few. I think 5 is good.
okay.
Yeah,
So-
I think 5, like a 5-star system.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
If you have 3 stars,
There you go.
it's like 3
5,
stars is not enough to rank something. 'Cause
4.
3. No, I think that would be a 4. But your 8 came back as an 8.
Oops, sorry.
4.
4.
I think those
Yeah,
next
see.
2 are 4.
This is better, yeah. 4. I might actually think that's a 3 meets value propositions. But we have to look at the value propositions.
Right, I think
which was
that's
gonna
it,
bring
yeah.
up. Okay.
Okay. Ease of operation is probably a 5 or 4 anyways.
Both of them are pretty easy for the, I don't know.
Well, no, it's option 1
Okay.
is the way
Sure,
easier.
5, yeah. Yeah.
So ease of operations is actually pretty high.
Yeah, I would say probably
Really?
like 5 or 4.
Yeah. Which do you prefer, 4?
I think 5's all right. I'm
Yeah.
good with 5 on that
Alright.
because
Yeah, I am
the,
too.
the town has a lot on its plate. So
Exactly.
ease of operations for the town. I mean, the voters are the ones who are gonna be like,
Yeah.
we don't want,
We want the town to make the most money, you should operate it, and someone
No,
says,
I don't think
oh,
so.
then we can't. Well,
That's
you'll
how I
have it
was
both.
thinking
You'll have it
initially.
both ways, and
Yeah.
you have people, oh, no, the town.
Well, being a town official, I'm like, no.
No, I know,
I just know
I'm
we
just saying,
can't,
like,
you know,
people will
think,
have, they'll be all over the place.
Yeah,
So
but that's
ease
why
of
the other thing we did is.
contracting 2 or 3.
Ease of contracting, I would say 2.
All right. So let's recap where we're at.
So this sheet this was before we did that thing.
What else is 10?
It had like, the criteria were ease of implementation, complexity of contracting, ease of staffing, ease of reservation tracking,
So some
Flexibility.
of these go away, right? So
town control over safety and neighborliness.
town, yeah, that's well, just town control in
And that was
general.
just like,
Yeah,
So we don't have that here.
well,
no, it's not in there.
but
How much control does town have in setting prices or this or that? Obviously, option 2 gives town more control, more
Yeah.
potential for profit or loss,
Yeah.
more control. So
Yeah.
control we have not captured, and that's a really important one. It seems to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so to put it positively, more
control.
control or just control or more control over
no control over
Yeah,
prices.
control
over operations.
over operations, yeah, I would say that.
Well, but that could be a negative thing too, like, oh,
No,
gee, we gotta get involved in this. You're
No,
saying,
no.
We can rank the weight of that right now, so like, the town control over operations.
If you want like control influence over operations,
okay,
do you prefer control or influence?
I think control is
Okay,
a better
all right, I think so too.
word, just,
Yeah, control
because
over,
we don't have complete control, but we have some form
Yeah.
of control.
yeah, control is not the same thing as headache. Control is a good thing. The
Right,
liability and
but
all
how
that.
important is it to our goal to have control?
It's-
So I would say like a 3 probably. But, I don't know. Because the control over
It's
operations.
at least 3, yeah.
Yeah, 3 or, 3 or 4 maybe, 3, I think.
All right.
because
Because-
you wanna have some control over your rents, but also of the rules in the neighborhood, cause like right now, it's a family-run place,
Yeah,
but who knows
and we'll
what.
have some control on both options because the town can set controls in the RFP.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that, it's not like one's gonna be full control and one's gonna be,
But
No control.
But option 1 is more of a black box.
sure,
initially,
less
yeah,
control.
at the RFP stage, you have control, but once you awarded you can't just come in and say, hey, I would like to change the hours, quiet hour to be, I mean, I suppose you could, but
You can do it in the beginning, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
So we have less control,
yeah.
but there's still some control. So it's not like one's gonna be all and one's gonna be none, But I think option 2 gives us pretty much complete control over the operations. And option 1 would give us some control over the operations, so.
We have to
Well, we
say,
can just write town can only set parameters in RFP. Then the other one we could write, town has flexibility in developing rules and regulations. Something like that. I don't know.
And setting rents or.
I think in over operations.
Town has flexibility in operations
Okay,
throughout.
okay.
Okay. So I'm like curious how this is gonna come out.
Right,
I
right.
don't know.
Let's see now, in terms of how each one does. So exposure to financial liability, again, we're doing 1 through 5, right? So option 1 has exposure is written as negative, least exposure, right? So that's positive. Least exposure to financial liability, least general liability, meets ease of operations. Let's go make sure the language is all good. Oh, come on. Okay. Ease of contracting control. Okay, all the language is good now. So,
And now, do we have any more that we need to add to this list right now? Of criteria? Can you think of anything? What's back on that original one? Is there anything, Nancy, on that one that you had before that we had included in the beginning?
I
actually have a
didn't
list.
see any there.
I've got the value propositions here.
so read through them and see if
There's not that many, so it's be just a second. Value products and services, nightly, weekly, seasonal lodging, like providing those things. Solving workforce housing or maintaining workforce housing, retaining affordable vacation opportunities, offsetting the debt service payments. More opportunities for businesses to house their workforce, maintaining a diverse character of town, and
So I feel like then the
benefits
values,
of the tax to benefit to taxpayers by reducing their tax bill, and retain and potentially expand general store and self-help.
so I think those value propositions, that's a 5. With all of those, no?
I would say that those are important, but like in terms of like what the town's trying to get, maybe it should go up to a 4. Because some of the value propositions, like providing products and services, and like the retaining the workforce housing thing, I think is the biggest one, right?
Yeah,
But then there's a lot of stuff like maintaining a diverse character of town. That's great, but that's not really the point of running the campground at this point. It's part of the value propositions, but like the benefit taxpayers by reducing their tax bill.
I think some of what you're saying is our value proposition in general of town buying Maurice's campground.
Right, but there was a retaining of workforce housing just in what they provide already.
the 5 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And so this is really operating the campground, the value propositions that the campground provides. But I think it's gonna provide most of those either way you do it,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But it's, you know what I mean? because the town will have some control over the RFP, and
Mhm.
I think we can state certain things like, the rents for the seasonal campers can only increase by a certain percentage, or there can be
Okay.
some rent control in the RFP. I think
Okay.
that's really gonna have to go through the procurement officer, but that's my assumption.
How about we then, based on what we have right now, just go and do the
Score.
scores for both options now?
Yeah,
Okay, so
and take a little note and for why.
yeah, I'm dying to see which way this
Yeah,
lands.
me too. Yeah. So we'll rank these 1 through 5 also, and then do it multiplied
Yeah,
by the weight.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
So I think obviously for
This one is
least
5.
exposure to financial liability, option 1 scores a 5.
Yeah.
And I would say option 2,
A 3.
probably 2.
probably a 2. I mean, it definitely has pretty high.
Maybe a 1.
Maybe have a 1 because
Let's
the
put a 2. Let's
exposure
put a 2. 2 is pretty low.
2 is low.
Okay.
I mean, the exposure though, I think is that like you could run a huge loss. So I'm not sure. I mean, I think 2 is probably good though, because there's some guaranteed rents coming in,
Right.
Yeah.
so it's probably a 2. I mean,
Right.
I think that's probably right. Least general liability for the town.
Are they the same?
They're probably the same.
What is
I
the
mean,
lease a
I
little
think
better? Would it be a
we're
3
still,
and a
that's gonna
2?
be a 4, even on the leasing the campground, because I think we're still gonna maintain some liability.
So 4.
There's
not
gonna be
5.
some liability on the property that we just like, by owning it, inherently have. Regardless of whether they indemnify us, like there's some exposure to lawsuits when
That's
you own
true,
a piece
that's
of
true.
property,
Yeah.
no matter who's running it. So
Would you say a 3 then for a 4 for the lease and a 3 for the management?
I think that managing is gonna still be a 2, if not a 1,
Okay.
because
It's just
we're just
we're
hiring an
more-
operator. They're not
Yeah.
gonna indemnify us at all.
At
It might
all.
be a
At
1.
all. 1, yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Meets our value propositions. I would say the first one probably 2. Option 1.
Mhm.
And then option 2 would probably be, I would guess, 4.
Why not 5?
Because we only, okay. I'm
I guess it
saying
could
4.
be a 5.
It's totally in our control. We can say,
Right, yeah, I guess it could be a 5. Hang on, let me think.
we define
Yeah,
what our values are and how we
yeah, I
want
would say it's a 5.
profitability is definitely less than the other option. So,
Well,
but
but
well,
I guess
Potentially.
I guess-
potentially, yes.
if we do the number 1 of 5, 1.
I think we can't even rank that one yet.
What?
We've got our assumptions, but we have to look at we have to do some quick numbers here, I think, before we can rank that.
Well,
Because-
we know that
We're basing our assumptions, right?
we're basing our assumptions on historic data, projected data.
And the 150% of the stuff that I wrote before. So if we take the data that is.
So you may have almost no profit to town, right? For in option 1, you could just break even, and that's about it.
How could you do that? Oh, you mean because the capital?
The 150%, if the capital costs outweighed that
Right,
amount.
right.
But then here's the question, like, we've set our assumptions for what we would pay the management company. So if you take the 125,000 and then you have the 20% of profit, what does that leave?
100,000. So that might leave a, couple of 100,000 or something.
240,000. If we use the $400,000 like.
Yeah, 240,000, and then you have all the repairs and maintenance in that situation. I think, so for the lease, I think probably I would guess like a 3. because you have built in a structure that is like, there's guaranteed rents, like you're going to get a certain amount of money, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be, I think middle of the road for that makes sense. I have no idea how to rank the option 2, because you could have greater profit, you could have loss.
Well, I think it's potential, right? So maybe we should write potential profitability.
I'm gonna have to talk tomorrow. I'm in the middle of a meeting, or I'll try and see if you're still up after the meeting. Okay. All right. ठीक, खुदा हाफिज़. Okay.
Maybe we should say potential profitability for the town. Instead of profitability.
On
In
the
the- in the-
left column.
Yeah, in the title.
Yeah.
Because I think, so then,
Potential
Because
for.
the number 1 penalizes the management company for the potential to have more liability, financial liability.
yeah, so
Maybe-
I would say the potential for greater profit is probably a 4. I'm not sure if the potential for profitability to the town should be weighted at a 4 though.
Yeah,
3.
I think a 3. Because again, we're not doing this, we're not in this, the goal is not to profit.
Right.
That's not
I
the
agree.
goal. So,
but then put a 4 under the management company.
no, that's
no,
3.
Put a 3 there, but over to the right.
Oh.
And you should probably erase loss under there, because we have financial liability also up there where we've already penalized that one.
Potential for greater profit. Yeah, you're right.
So that makes sense. We put least exposure to financial liability, we put that one as a 2. And then potential for greater profit, we put it at 4,
Yeah,
you know?
Mhm.
okay. Ease of
And I might not
operation.
put guaranteed profit to the town. Guaranteed income, maybe. Guaranteed,
Well-
it's not necessarily profit for the first one, because
If
if
it
we wind up
comes-
using up all that money that comes in for capital expenses and unexpected expenses, then it's not guaranteed profit. So guaranteed,
Or more predictable.
you can say guaranteed income to the town,
Okay.
because it's not, you're gonna still have the expenses.
I think,
Is income not the right word either?
well, because you could have a guaranteed income of $1 and a guaranteed loss of $1 million. You see what I'm saying?
Right, you know,
So-
I know.
So profit is important, but guaranteed profit to town, I think even in the case of the capital expenses,
Oh, yeah,
the
'cause in
way
our
you-
assumptions, our expenses are the capital, okay,
yeah,
guaranteed profit.
yeah,
Because we had to have that list of assumptions so that we have something to base these on.
right.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Okay.
you can leave it alone, because
Alright.
in our assumptions, we are guaranteeing a profit.
Yeah. Ease of operations, let's see,
Yeah,
towns, so this is probably,
Mm-hmm.
would the lease be a 5 and the other be a,
The least would definitely be a 5.
and the other
Yeah.
would be a 3 or a 2?
I'd say probably a 3 at least.
yeah, at
Because
least it's,
you're still hiring a management company,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you still have to do some kind of,
You still have to do the oversight,
oversight, and also
expenses.
probably some level of,
Website,
yeah,
accounting,
yeah.
all the stuff we listed there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so then going down the list, ease of contracting.
Well, maybe we should make a little note in there, where we just ranked those. As to why we ranked them there. Town staffing minimal. Anything else we wanna put in there?
Well,
I was more thinking for the second one, why it's a
Oh,
three.
okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah. So see sub items, town still responsible for sub items below, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, right?
Yeah.
Well, may or may
Some of
not be,
them.
like reservations would hopefully not, you know.
No,
Yeah.
it's the, look, think of it this way. Option 2 is as if it's the town's monkey.
How about
The
you?
only thing is that they're subcontracting a good chunk of what the town would otherwise have to do
Right,
with
but
somebody else.
the
But everything,
reservations are part of the operation.
Yeah, I think you a reservation system.
well, what I'm trying to say is things that you want to keep the same. But if you say, I don't like this operating company, they didn't do a good job, I'm gonna hire somebody else. I'm gonna fire them, I'm gonna hire some other company. Do you really want to change your reservation system, your website?
No, but
your-
maybe we should write use a campground reservation system. So, because I think it implies
Yeah.
that taking the reservations.
Oh, yeah. System, yes,
Yeah.
thank you, that's, and we'll fix the case and on the editors, that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
but,
Yep, all right,
okay.
yeah,
let's
that's
go
good.
down, then the next one, ease of contracting.
I think clearly number one is the easier contract. Because it's an RFP, you send it out, they basically come back with their proposal. And then you either accept the proposal or you don't accept the proposal. I think there's some minor changes you can make. But you
Whereas
can't
option
change your
2 is
RFP.
almost like hiring an employee and.
Yeah, it's much more comprehensive,
Okay,
but you
so-
still are gonna have to do some background checking.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that the applicant is qualified to do it, so there's still complexity in both.
Yeah,
So I'd probably put like,
4 and 2.
maybe even like 3 and 2. Or I guess if we're just comparing the two, so maybe 4 and. I don't know, I mean, 2, I guess it probably is a 2, really.
yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, it's like,
So-
there's so
so
much
what-
more complicated to have a
so-
management company.
So contracting, the way I'm interpreting it, is the upfront work to get them to be in place. Not once the lease is in place, once the
Contracts in
in
place.
place, that's operation.
Yeah,
That's
so maybe it
different.
should be 4 and 3. Because I don't think it's gonna be extremely complicated, you know?
I agree. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Okay, control. So, so there's some level of control, but
well, maybe put a 2 or a 3 there.
Nancy,
Yeah.
which one?
Um, For the lease, I guess a 2, and then for the management company, a 4 or a 5.
Yeah, I guess it's total flexibility, right?
I'd say 5.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
now you're gonna tally these.
I
Yeah,
think you can actually
a
like,
multiplier and
you
all
can
that.
make a multiplier.
Okay, so weighted score, insert column left. Weighted score, option 1, right? So this would be
Equals B something times D something.
equals to B3 times
D3,
D3. Okay,
and then you're gonna copy that all the way down.
yeah, unfortunately, I can't drag it there. Can I do?
Why not?
No, because there's another column in between, a few columns in between. Can I do that? No.
What do you mean? No, drag it down, I meant.
Oh,
Not the side by side.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. Just drag it all the way down. Let's see if that worked out. I'm gonna delete these empty rows.
Well, some of them might be, what do you call it, subcategories, but
Okay, let's see. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so 5, 25, 4, 4, 16, 4, 2 are 8, 3, 3 are 9.
yep.
Okay, so all looks good. Now for this one, weighted for option 2.
Go on the couch.
Go on up, buddy. Go on up.
Go ahead.
How old is he?
He's 10.
The senior
buddy.
citizen.
It's getting old.
It's hard, to think about the inevitable. I think about it a lot.
Are you at the right column for it?
Weighted, oh, you're right, thank you. Weighted score for option 2 equal to this time, not D3, but H.
G3.
Is it,
G3.
is G? Oh, G3, yeah. Thank you. Okay, now 2 times 10. Wait.
2 times 5 is 10,
2
yes.
times 5 is.
Now, copy that 10.
Wait, no, 2 times. Oh, there. Okay. This we should lock as well, but I'll do that later. Okay, now copy this all the way down. Hi,
One
Jean.
thing I never
Almost done.
needed to learn.
All right. Okay, now we just add.
Some.
Yeah, well, we can just right now just do a quick because we just want instant gratification. Oops. Sorry. Go all the way to the top. Okay. And then go here. Shift. Okay, so sum is 82 here.
It's for the management.
And weighted score. Oops. Wait, where's my weighted?
You didn't go far enough down.
Oh, okay. Dang. Not far enough down.
There's a
There?
blank cells, just needs to
Okay.
get.
So what was it? The previous one was 82?
Yep.
Okay. Drum roll, please. 97. The winner is.
Well, I think that's fairly accurate to me. I think
They're not so
makes
far
the
off.
most sense. They're not. Yeah, I don't think it's
Because some of the
Swayed.
advantages that were for the option 2 were lower ranked,
Yeah.
the lower priority. So
yeah. And we might. I mean, we can review this
sure.
and see if if it makes sense. We should all just review
Yeah.
it.
Broader, when we present it, if people, have
So
suggestions.
there's a meeting this Friday
Right.
at the Council on Aging. And is that where, because your select board meeting on the next Tuesday is where,
It's in person and online, so it's hybrid.
and everybody, every group, there's a
I
presentation.
don't know what's.
I believe so. So
But
so
you sent some notes
yeah,
to
and
Ryan.
just look it over, Mike, in case there's any fine tuning needed.
Well, you
for the-
change
Yeah,
it
well,
because
I
you've done a
think-
whole lot more.
What?
You'll change.
Oh,
it.
that's right. We've done a whole lot more today, so that's gonna be updated. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be yeah.
And then they wanted us to send,
I think we need to look at I know we jumped out of the spreadsheet because I think we finished that
Yeah.
spreadsheet. But I think we need to have a look at what the total profit and loss. There's a profit on the bottom?
Yeah, but unfortunately, because we're
The
sort of
rents thing.
in between the changes, we're gonna have to wait for that. But we can look at the previous version and
it's pretty close, but what specific numbers do you want?
I think I just would like to look at my assumptions that I made for this thing and see how much sort of meat there is on the bone for
yeah.
for an operator so that I feel comfortable with those assumptions being that much
Yeah.
that there's a possibility that somebody would want to take this on, right? Like, I don't want to have I don't think it's out of line, like the 125% or whatever,
Yeah, you
150%. But I think if we can just scroll down, because I didn't really look at the
So-
total. So those are
The big, the overall total, not the broken down, one, right?
Oops.
the net income,
Sorry,
right?
it moved
Yeah.
on you guys, 1 second, net income. So this is of course taking into account the capital.
Right. So
So
2022 is the best one to go at,
Yeah.
451,000.
Right. So, and I think that I don't know if it makes sense to produce this in a way that includes the capital without it. That doesn't. I don't know if, and I don't want to go. Maybe we just leave it alone. But when you look at net income, we're looking at the net income of the business, and
it is split by, the different.
sure, but I think the same
Segments.
problem kind of happens with the 2023 capital expenses in that there should be net income prior to capital expenses or something like that, because I still think there's an issue where,
Well, that's what I was suggesting, is to
Yeah.
have two net incomes, one with capital, one without.
right. Because I think, let's just, if you took the capital expenses out of those years and you just put the lump sum like we did in the assumptions there, 700, whatever, that's the town's responsibility. So if we're presenting this as like, that's over 6 years, right? So it's not plugged in year by year, because the town probably wouldn't do it like that.
Right.
Or maybe it would, but it wouldn't matter because it's nothing to do with the campground business at that point, once it's leased or there's a management company. So if you were to show this for like an RFP, they're gonna be like, well, what's all this expenses? They wanna see that bottom line number. And then it would maybe include what they would have to pay to the town, you know what I mean? Rather than these capital expenses for the town. So I'm not sure, it may be, I think just if we had one more cell in there that said net income without capital expenses.
Yeah.
And if that was in there, I think that would be good, just to
That's
clarify.
exactly what I was suggesting.
Yeah,
is to
exactly. I think it's right.
Have to just split the net income row into two net income rows, one with capital expenses, one without.
Yeah, I think that would resolve the issue, I think, where it looks like the income suddenly drops off when the town takes it over, but it's accounting for something that wasn't being accounted for.
I thought we were taking the capital
It's just,
costs out of there.
we did in the up above for the cabins.
Oh, you did it for the individual groups, but you left it in there for the total.
No, I didn't. No,
You took it out.
I took it out altogether, and
Yeah.
I was not comfortable taking it out, to be honest.
But we took it out, so in other words, it's not there. So like if you go down, once we update the summation, because we didn't update the
By the way,
summation.
I think, were we editing the live version or the, no, what did I do?
You saved.
You made
it in
another version.
Excel or something.
Yeah,
you
so
made
all
a-
my changes were in the Excel, I think. So if you go here, so you gotta remember that in your notes, Nancy, what is what, because otherwise,
Yeah.
We're gonna forget.
yeah. So if you look here in the expenses, you see the repairs and maintenance. We have all these blank rows. The formulas are still there for 20. Oops, what the heck did I just do? Okay, just scissors. Computer. Here we go. Okay, so
Yeah,
Let's go
Well,
to net.
2023, right? So you noticed, oh, I cleared the
You
whole.
cleared them, so scroll down to the net income rows.
Net.
Total, okay, net everything income.
oops, sorry, I'm gonna scroll more slowly. Net store income, oops, net,
Keep going.
That's
Net
the-
income.
yeah,
So see, it
jumped up.
Yeah, it jumped up to a normal
yeah. so-
level, but I think if you just put those differences back in there, that, or, well, we know there's a 6-year capital plan, and I think,
I thought the way you were accounting for the capital plan was that you were making that minimum bid for leasing. So like a leaser comes, and we won't have identical numbers because we'll do the 4% increase, but you know, we'll say it's around 450 right now. If he bids like 100, you know,
well, that would only be in the first scenario if the town chose to do
a
that,
lease.
a lease.
So, but if he bids 180, you know, he sees a potential of 250
Right,
profit.
right.
So it's,
By the way,
Yeah.
one question, are these spreadsheets going to be a matter of public record?
They will, yeah.
So in other words, and we'll provide it to the RFP people to say, here's the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so that's why I think just teasing out those capital expense numbers, or even taking them out and just having the separate spreadsheet for the capital plan.
we do.
And
so
We have a separate.
Yeah,
spreadsheet.
exactly. If
That
we
page.
just have that,
See right here?
Yeah,
That's the
so we took those out.
yeah, because those are not really expenses per se. Like an expense,
Yeah,
like they are
So we took
expenses,
your
but
point
yeah,
and removed, and so what, before we started this
Sure.
meeting, the data from the 6-year capital plan was referenced in formulas for under repairs or
yeah,
whatever it was
exactly,
called,
yeah,
right? And you said, let's not do that.
right.
And so we blanked out those 6 or 7.
But do you guys feel comfortable with that? That's, I guess, what my
Well,
question is.
yeah,
we
You
will
make,
say
you
we're
make a
talking.
good point.
I think
talking
we
about
need to note it,
expenses.
that it's not included.
Right,
That it's that, so that's noted that it's not included, but I think including it skews the numbers in a way that don't quite make sense either.
right.
Right, and as you said, the lessee is not paying those things.
Yeah, what we're trying to get from this document is like, how profitable is the business, right? And so when we're doing a projection on that, like, if you were a business, and you were like, I had $700,000 of capital expenses coming up, you certainly wouldn't be paying out of pocket every year those capital expenses. You'd make one big capital plan and upgrade, and you'd probably borrow the money over however much time. Then your expense would be that yearly liability and loan payments, right? Like if you had to make a $750,000 investment in your business, you're probably not paying out of pocket in one given year. So that's why I think you just having the, like the electrical upgrades just in year one wouldn't really make sense as far as like a profit and loss financial projection, right? So I guess that's really what I was getting at. So
Yeah.
I think we just need to note that it doesn't include capital expenses, and that's it.
So when we devise all of this, I'm gonna try basically anything that's not a Word document, or doesn't basically try to move everything in this one
Sure.
spreadsheet, and
Yeah.
so that we can
You have Q&A, what's that sheet?
questions and answers. The
Those were the ones to the,
Maurice brothers,
Right.
consideration.
Yeah, and we may not need, we may have to have, I think I'm gonna have to write some kind of report
Okay.
that basically summarizes what we did
okay,
and summarizes.
Well, take a look at the notes I sent, because Ryan had asked to be sent
I
to.
saw
So,
that,
so if there's any changes, well, we have to make changes based on what we did today.
right,
So use that as input and then make the
yeah,
final report.
okay.
so
So can we remove now, or is it removed from the document, the
What?
capital expenses?
They are.
and the
They are.
net
They are.
income? Okay.
Well, no, I'm sorry, this is, everything
a
we've done
version.
is in a copy, Nancy. It's not live version.
okay,
We have to then, once you and I are satisfied, we will upload it as a new version.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, we're gonna count on Farouk for that.
Yes.
I'm counting
not
on Nancy
me.
for the,
The notes.
The
She's
notes.
taking very good.
it's all a divide and conquer approach, right?
Yeah, you got it, yes.
Teamwork.
Okay, so I think we're there.
Okay.
Like, I'm comfortable with this analysis. I mean, I think, essentially what we've done is taken the information and broken it down so that it's palatable
Okay.
and understandable.
And
Answer the
explainable,
questions.
and a
Friday's
town,
meeting, you won't be able to be there. as you-
Probably not, but I
We
try.
Friday, oh,
We,
yeah,
we
We're
will,
gonna run into the tide
We will
probably
be
by
there.
Friday.
yeah.
It's like, can't
And
control the
then-
No
tides.
worries.
next Friday, the Friday after that,
We're
Frank
not
and I
there.
will not be around.
Okay, that's fine.
So be sure that,
I'll be there probably.
okay,
And actually, wait, is it this Friday that we have it? Yeah, last Friday. we
Last
didn't
Friday
have it.
we didn't. so
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing-
Friday. Yeah, okay. So
Tide
let's
wise-
Put that in here.
Yeah, but so we will, this week, we will show them what we did with this P&L sheet, and we'll show them the grading criteria and the assumptions.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. And ask for more feedback about the criteria.
yeah,
If there's any criteria that they think is important that we missed.
yeah,
Because I think we went from a pretty long list and eliminated the things that we didn't think were important criteria.
okay.
So I think it's-
And
we should
we'll
take-
also ask, they should also give us some clarification of whatever they want for your August 9th select board meeting, because they were talking about every group submitting some
so
picture or
Sure.
something. And I'm guessing that would be our criteria spreadsheet, but I don't know,
Picture.
like, yes,
Okay.
some kind of slide or something. like
well,
that.
that's what, it doesn't have to be a picture, but the slide should say what, this is how I interpreted it, is what is the gist of everything you've done,
Yeah.
summarized, and then if there's something to show, the bottom line is, those net numbers, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, like, we came up with some assumptions that I think make sense based on the information that we got. And we also fine-tuned their financials based on the meeting that we had with John, that I think answered a lot of the questions that FinCom had. And so I think, there's two options. I think we narrowed the criteria down to the important criteria, and we may or may not have missed something that other people may think is important, and then weighted those in a way that I think makes sense and came up with the numbers that I think actually make sense.
Mhm.
It's just generally.
So
analyzing
basically
it.
describe the process we went through, and then what are the bottom line results. So in case of the one we just did, the bottom line results is this is the weighted score for this
Yeah.
option.
Exactly.
And then we don't have to go through all the line items, just say this is the bottom line, but this is the process we use. And then for the profit and loss, we tell them the process we used, and then the bottom line is the net income for the projected 3 years.
Right. Okay,
And
so.
the assumptions you shared with us, that's not part of this summary, that's for later
No,
developing.
The assumptions that I used are they can be part of the summary for
Okay.
the operations part. Because they're what we use basically we use those assumptions to basically rank which one is financially more profitable or has more liability. I don't know
Okay.
whatever's in there.
Right, all
We
those
use
things.
those assumptions.
They helped guide us,
mind
yeah.
to guide us. So
Okay,
like, I think it would be, I may put a scenario in, like, if we do like a final report or something where like the scenario would state basically like if a lessee, so like if a operator gets paid this much and whatever this much like could be potential profit for the town, whatever.
That is the most concrete way to sort of package what we've done and say, here's a scenario for you to understand what it might look like with this
Yeah.
option.
I think I need to do that, so.
Yeah.
And that's just like taking these final numbers that we wound up with,
Yeah.
which is why I kind of wanted the capital improvement stuff out of there, because it's a.
Yeah, yeah,
And so then we can take those final numbers and the kind of projection and go like, if these projections and our assumptions, we can take our assumptions and these projections and create a scenario
Mhm.
that just says how much meat's on the bone,
all right.
I think. Yeah.
By the
So-
way, Friday the 12th is good tide for you to make the meeting.
Yeah, I just saw that. So
Yeah.
let me just put that in my calendar here. I can't understand, like
Oh,
sometimes I
you
put
might not
something-
be able to make this Friday. I'll.
Oh,
But I
crap.
will.
Oh, wait, you're gonna, you over Zoom, you mean?
No.
This
Because
Friday?
Russ is here.
Ah,
I
yeah.
don't know what,
Hmm.
but I will definitely be there, so.
Okay. My friend from the Philippines is visiting this week, later this week.
My friend Gina's here too, but she's understanding.
Oh, why did it do that?
So Nancy, tomorrow we better get to updating this stuff with
I
a
might-
fresh mind.
I might do some of it tonight.
No, you're too tired. No, not today.
It's a lot to do that. You got good enough.
You got good notes. Just, I'll help you.
I just meant
Okay.
the Excel one, because I don't understand what you mean about, oh, it's not on that, it's on the Excel.
I can, well, it's not in the cloud, it's only on your laptop. If you just, bang that laptop, it's gone.
Well, then I
Let's
want to
not
deal with
drown
it because.
I'll drown that in.
No, I can upload what we have in as a starting point, but we might as well. Yeah, it's gonna be fine until tomorrow. I think.
Okay, I call this meeting, I move to adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Okay, that's everyone. Okay, good night, everybody.
Hey, listen, do you want to bring some